who's driving. She just said one dead and her son's on the way to the hospital.
Wow. Did she email you or text you?
I was texting
Oh,
her,
okay.
yeah, just saying, give us an update. Get
Did
it
she
later.
give you any update?
She said that one person in the car died and that her son is on the way to the hospital.
Sometimes that's the cause of the accident. So, did they die before they wrecked the car? Did they wreck the car because they died?
I think I'm going to take notes. Can I make a copy? If you make a copy, I'll take it. Okay. Thank you.
Hi, Rita.
Hi. Hey, Rita. I'm down here.
And we're recording?
Yeah, recording.
Recording is on? Okay.
So you want one for each individual person?
Okay.
Yeah, there's more.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, yeah.
If we hit record, yep.
All right, everyone.
Yeah. You want to just like motion us or something when you're ready?
Yeah. Well, we'll start right at 5:10. So
Okay,
this
perfect.
won't take very long. The preamble of it. But all right, everyone. Thanks for making time for today. So I think we're all familiar with the process for board and commissions. In terms of just asking questions, I think I'll do as we've done in the past, where I'll ask the initial question and then we'll just go around the room. Joe, you'll ask questions to Rita, 4 or 5. And Chelsea, since Kim's not going to be able to make it tonight, can you ask 6 and 7 as well? I don't think, have we talked about the reappointments at the beginning, or do we normally do that at the end? We usually do it at the end of the
Second night.
second night, or at the end of the interviews, right? So not that we have to go into that detail right now, but any other questions or anything else you want to discuss regarding this? We're going to have a lot more applicants than we have open positions.
It might be helpful to let any of the applicants know if they're coming up against someone who's being reappointed, that their odds of actually being appointed to the board are.
They're open to other.
Yeah.
In the past, we've asked them while they're in the room, would you be open to serving on
Yeah.
any other? That might be good to add. Is that what you're saying, Steve?
Something along those lines. I would just, like, if I was coming in for an interview for planning and zoning, and I was going up against someone who's being reappointed by a council that has never failed to reappoint someone,
Right.
I might want to know that information.
I was going to say, and I think the ones that are sticking out to me right now are like water and sewer board, especially. There's one open position, and Mr. Moore is up for reappointment. And there's like 7 or 8 others that are interested in that role. So yeah, that's one of them. I think planning. P&Z as well, and then was it cultural arts maybe? Cultural arts and Parks and Rec have more than their allotment.
So I mean, just like a.
But if I see that, then I can make a point of it.
Yeah, an advance warning I think would be helpful to the applicant at least.
I could just,
as a
you're
professional courtesy.
Interviewing for one of the boards that has a lot of applicants for open positions. Would you be open to anything else? Okay. Cool. Anything else? Are you guys open to starting early?
Yep.
Since Jackie's right there. We're ready to begin if you want to bring in Jake.
Okay, I'll let Andrea know.
Cool.
Mark.
We didn't have anyone apply for BOA.
Right.
Same subject matter. Is it worth mentioning to those people?
Yeah.
I think code enforcement also, there were more applicants.
We've got Jay Gilbert here.
Hello, Mr. Gilbert.
Good evening, how are you?
Good evening.
It's right here.
Welcome. Yeah, somewhere in the middle.
Okay.
We got all these seats for you to choose from. So,
Cool.
So good evening, Jay. Thanks for making time for us today. Thank you for your interest in serving the city. My name is Othaniel Sierra. I'm the mayor as well as council member for District 1. We're going to be asking you a series of 7 questions tonight. You'll have 10 minutes to answer those questions. If there's any time remaining, you are free to ask us any questions at all. So, any questions before we get started?
No.
Nope.
That's fine.
Cool. And I'll be keeping time, so I'll let you know when there's about 1 minute left. All right. So, Mr. Gilbert, my question for you is, what motivates you to apply for an Inglewood board or commission at this time?
Well, I am very personally invested in Englewood. I grew up here, I've lived here my whole life, and I am a homeowner here, and I'm raising kids here, and my parents live here, and my kids go to EPS, and you know, in here for the long haul. So just would like the opportunity to hopefully contribute anything I may have to offer to hopefully make Englewood a better place.
Sounds great. Yeah, great. What, Joe?
Hi, Jake. My question for you tonight is, what will you bring to the board or commission you applied for that will benefit the city through your service?
Yeah, so I applied for ETAC, and so I care a lot about traffic safety and about kids being able to safely get to school. Is a big issue of mine as I have young kids that are starting to enter public schools, and we live near their schools, and I'd like for them to be able to walk and bike to school. I volunteered as a crossing guard when I was able to last year at Clayton. I initiated and attended a couple of meetings with Clayton administration and Superintendent Joanna Polzin to talk about safety at drop-off time and ways to improve safety for kids both getting to school in cars as well as walking or biking. I was approached by the Englewood Public Schools grant administrator to write a letter of support for their Safe Routes to School grant, which I did. And last year, you know, I gave a presentation to City Council with a lot of statistics about police citation numbers as well as funding and staffing. And so I have some experience doing that kind of stuff, that kind of subject. Thank you.
Good evening, Jake. My question is, please describe an experience in the past during which you worked with a group of diverse people and sometimes opposing views with diverse and sometimes opposing views and perspectives.
Yeah, so I served on the off-leash task force in 2020 and 2021 and have been a member of the affordable housing task force. We just had our last meeting. And so naturally, those are both subjects that people feel strongly about and people can have some pretty polar opinions on, and you know, saw my role as trying to help sort of reach consensus about things and sort of giving ground on some things that I might think in order to sort of try to pull everybody in a consensus direction. So,
Thank you.
Good evening, Jake. How are you tonight?
good. Are you?
I got the lucky draw tonight. That's Steve's favorite question. What do you like most about Englewood?
Well, so yeah, like I was saying, this is where all my roots are. I've lived here my whole life, so this is my hometown. So, and I haven't left. So, naturally, I have a lot of attachment to it. Just in that sense, it's where I was a kid. It's where I grew up. But in addition to that, I do feel like Englewood has a lot of. It just seems like there's a pretty decent amount of like civic participation and civic interest. I meet a lot of new neighbors all the time who are really interested in trying to make Englewood a better place to live, and it seems like a lot of people really do have an affinity for Englewood. Try to make it a good place to be. So it's got a good community.
So tell us what, if anything, you'd like to see improved in Englewood regarding the ETAC board.
Well, so I am concerned about traffic safety for all modes of transit. I drive a Toyota Corolla, you know, it's a small car, and drive my kids, you know, all over the place. But I am also particularly interested in sort of non-vehicular ways to get around town. I kind of had an epiphany when my daughter, my oldest kid, learned to ride a bike. We live catty corner from the alternative high school where they have a big parking lot, and so she got to learn how to ride a bike. And it just suddenly hit me like, now what? You know, I can't, you know, it's supposed to be like this big milestone where they suddenly have this mode of transit that they can get to their friends' houses and stuff. And I think I'm like basically any parent where I don't feel like it would be safe to send her off on her bike. And I don't really know when I would feel safe doing that. So I do really like some of the projects Public Works has had as far as traffic calming infrastructure, like on the 4,000 block of Jason, and where they put some bulb outs and a sort of an obstacle in the middle of the block, and some of the stuff they're doing on Dartmouth. And so I think I could offer sort of, or I hope I could offer some kind of helpful perspective or input or insight into those kinds of things.
Thank you.
Great, good to see you. Thanks for applying. Regular attendance at boards and commission meetings is required. Do you have any concerns about your ability to attend the meetings?
As long as it's on like the later end of business hours, I'm usually off work around like 4. Shouldn't be a problem.
And how will your service on ETAC or another board and commission benefit you as an Inglewood citizen, personally or professionally?
So I think it would benefit me personally, just in, I would hope to improve the safety of myself and my family.
Yeah.
And hopefully get to a point where I can kind of feel better about letting my kids get themselves around town in a very personal, narrow sense, I guess. But I would hope to achieve that for everybody. So.
Thank you so much.
All right, Jake, you got about 3 minutes left. Any questions for us?
Nothing comes to mind.
Okay. So, yeah. All right, Jake. Well, we have 2 evenings of this, so we'll be going through all the interviews. This time next week, we'll go ahead and just make final how the board is going to look like at that point. Somebody from city staff will reach out to you. Cool. But really appreciate you coming out tonight. Thank you very much for your serving. So we'll be back in touch soon. Jake.
Thanks. Yeah. Thanks for having me.
So much, man.
Yeah. Have a great evening.
Have a good night.
See ya. Where's the matrix?
Kristen here.
Hi, Kristen.
Hi.
Proud to be here. Kristen, yeah. How you doing?
A little better, yeah.
Yeah. it's good to
Thanks
see
for
you.
having me.
Yeah. Kristen, thank you very much for making time for us tonight.
Yeah, of course.
So Kristen, obviously you're my neighbor, so.
Yep.
Okay, well, Daniel's here in District 1 as well as mayor of the city, but tonight we're going to be asking you 7 questions. You'll have 10 minutes to answer those questions. We're going to be going down the road here, just
Great.
to my left in terms of the questions.
Are you guys gonna light up your
Yeah, exactly, right.
things?
Yeah, you'll get a big light when you're in a minute. If there's any time remaining at the end of the questions, then you can ask any questions of
Great.
us. So,
Okay.
But I'll go ahead and ask my first question,
Great.
and that is, what motivates you to apply for an Inglewood board at this time?
Thank you for that question. I'm deeply motivated by my personal connection to Inglewood's Parks and Rec Department. I think most of you know from me speaking at City Council that I have a special needs son, and his #1 Medicaid goal is to safely be outside. So I have seen firsthand how important a well-designed and thoughtful kind of open space can really impact, someone's life. So, I really just want to continue advocating for that. I sort of organically fell into this love for parks through coming and talking to you guys about the bond, and I got really lucky with Bates Logan getting a grant and getting done. So my park is already happening, right? But I thought, gosh, how cool would this be for everybody, in our community to get to have that? So this is hopefully the next way that I get to continue that passion and keep working within our community.
That's great. Thank you, Kristen.
You're welcome.
Good evening, Ms. Beard. I'm Joe Anderson, District 3 Council Member. And my question tonight is, what will you bring to the Parks and Rec Commission that will benefit the city through your service?
Great, thank you. I have just a little background on what I do for a job. I have a little over 15 years of experience in strategy and sales leadership in the professional beauty industry. And so in that, I do a lot of project management, a lot of collaboration, a lot of community building and engagement. And I also led a small group of neighbors when we were trying to get the bond passed, the neighborhood Springwood Parks and Rec. And I was really able to utilize those skills in the bond campaign to sort of organize and mobilize a group of kind of like-minded people towards a common goal. I think just my experience in organizing events, stakeholder communication, advocating for resources would hopefully be a benefit to the Parks and Rec Commission to get to kind of transfer some of that knowledge to the board. I'm confident I could bridge the gap sort of between kind of community expectations and city staff. Because people do jokingly call me the mayor, even though it's you, of our neighborhood, because I know everybody.
Very good, thank you.
Thanks.
Good evening, Ms. Beard.
Hi.
So my question is, please describe an experience in the past during which you worked in a group of people with diverse and sometimes opposing views and perspectives.
Sure. During the Parks Bond campaign, I did work with a lot of the community and the neighbors in this group, and everybody had a different idea of what was most important. Some people were really concerned about cost. Others were focused on specific amenities, safety features. As we all know, some were very passionate about native plants. Everybody kind of had a different idea. And despite those differing views, I felt like I was able to always steer the conversation back and make sure that we were really focused on our common goals and our kind of shared passion to improve the parks. I very much love open dialogue, hearing other people's opinions, being respectful, really steering things back to the common good and the common goal. Through all of that, we were able to come together and successfully advocate for this bond despite all of our differences. It really has always just reinforced my belief in collaboration and community, and it's one of the things I really love about this city.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
I just stole the thunder for the next question.
Sorry. No, I can go on and on about what I love about Inglewood. I never in my life dreamed that I would like a city as much as I do.
Please do so. That's my question. What do you love
Okay.
most about Inglewood?
It's funny, there was a situation where there was like a gentleman having a mental health breakdown at Bates Logan. And I had called 911 and the police came and helped him. And then a officer from Denver called me because this gentleman was a resident of Denver. And he said, hey, I'm trying to see if this person is a danger to themselves or whatever. And over the course of this conversation, he's like, gosh, you've made me want to move to Inglewood. Because I was just like, I don't know how much I love it. But I think at the core, what I love is our community and our sense of community. It really feels like a small town. You go places, you run into people you know, everybody loves kind of like talking to each other, and somehow the city has really fostered this incredible sense of community that's so hard to get in a big city. People are connected, there's a strong spirit of collaboration and whatnot. I really appreciate how we kind of balance like these urban conveniences with open spaces and stuff like that if we want to tie it to parks. But I mean, it's everything and nothing. It's like, I like that my mayor is my neighbor. I like that I might run into Rita or to you at the grocery store. I like that when I call the city and I say, hey, how far back is my fence allowed to be? Someone calls me that day. I don't have to wait 6 weeks for an answer and follow up and follow up and follow up. It's really, you really feel like everyone cares about you. And like I said, I never in my wildest dreams thought I would get involved in any sort of politics at all. And this has really just sort of organically happened. And it's just become this like incredible passion of mine that I just never saw coming. So, yeah, thanks.
So tell us what, if anything, you'd like to see changed or improved regarding the border commission that you applied for.
Thank you, Steve. I think this one was the hardest for me because I've only been to one commission meeting. This is a new involvement for me. What I think that they're doing well is involving the community in the decision-making process. I think when people have a say in something, they have more of a buy-in, right? If they're heard. I love that those meetings are open to the public, that anybody can come and speak. I love that our city council is open to, I love that it's open to most of the public. Sorry, it was a joke. Just in this little bit of work that I've done, I've really seen kind of the power of citizen involvement. And so I would like to see that continued and maybe see if there's a way that I could help involve that outreach to make it even stronger. But I think a little bit of that is time will tell because I don't know what I don't know.
Thank you.
Good to see you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for applying.
Yeah.
Regular attendance and engagement at all the board and commission meetings is required. Do you have any concerns about your ability to attend the meetings?
I don't, but I do have one question. If I were to be out of town for a work trip, am I allowed to join virtually?
Boards and commissions, I believe, are making that decision on their own. I do believe most allow attendance
Okay.
virtually.
Yeah, I have a really flexible schedule. I have a partner at home that shares childcare duties, and so I really don't foresee it a problem. Occasionally, I travel for work, so that would be the only, but I think a lot of us do. So that would be the only hiccup. But as long as I could attend virtually, it would be always not a problem.
The challenge with virtual attendance with that board in particular is that they often meet in parks.
In what? In parks? Okay. I mean, for the most part, we have the meetings scheduled out a year in advance, right? So I can mostly plan around them. But there may be an occasional one-off where if we have national sales meeting in LA and I'm not, I can't get out of it. But yeah,
Okay,
not a problem.
that's helpful.
Mhm.
And then how would your service on this board of commission benefit you as an Englewood citizen, either personally or professionally?
I think I kind of already touched on this, but this is really the first time I've gotten involved in any way. But I really do have a service heart, like from since I was in high school till now. And I've gotten involved in lots of different ways. I was an English as a second language tutor for the IRC. For a long time, I worked with the unhoused in LA with an organization called Food on Foot. When I lived in Phoenix, I worked with Habitat for Humanity and a local women's shelter. So to get to serve in this capacity, though, is very different. It would really allow me to deepen my connection to the community that I've really grown to love so much. It would allow me to give back in a really meaningful way, just like a little personal. I was giving a lot to my job until recently. I gave up this whole other added scope of my role and just decided to invest that in things that I care more about. So I've recently joined the Leadership Committee for Beauty Changes Lives, which is a nonprofit that I'm really passionate about in the beauty industry, and hopefully here as well, to just help me with my future community advocacy and what this might lead to down the road to help me get more involved with the community. And really kind of help me understand the context, like my local government and the context of everything and how it all works, because just from the small involvement I've had so far, it's been so eye-opening for me in such a cool way. And so I would really like to just continue that understanding and continue to be involved and kind of see what other ways I can help. I use the community, so I want to, help make it stay great.
Thank you so much.
All right, Kristen, we're just about at time. So, so we do have 2 nights of this, so we are going to be going through the interviews tonight.
Sure.
I guess just a quick question, would there be any other boards that you're interested in Parks and Rec? I think there are a few open positions, but anything else that you would consider, if not Parks and Rec?
I think I would consider something
Okay.
if you presented it to me and said, hey, after your interview, we feel like you'd be a good fit for this.
Okay.
I would be really open to hearing that, but my only one that I applied for
Yeah,
was Parks and Rec.
Okay, no, we understand.
Yeah.
So we'll deliberate tomorrow night. We'll start trying to place people in boards tomorrow night, but ultimately we'll make a decision next Tuesday after MLK Day.
Okay.
At that point, somebody from City Step will reach out to you and let you know about placement. But thank you very much for coming
Okay,
tonight.
thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right, good luck.
Thanks for all the work you did. Thank you. Have a good night.
All right, you too. 2 down, 20 to go.
Thank you for that.
Got Hunter here.
Good evening, Hunter. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Doing well. Pick a chair, any chair.
All right.
Thanks for coming tonight. So Hunter, my name's Daniel Sierra. I'm mayor as well as council member for District 1. We're going to be asking you 7 questions tonight. You'll have 10 minutes to answer those questions. If there's any time remaining after the 7 questions, you're free to ask us any questions at all. So are you ready to begin?
Sure. Yeah.
All right, perfect. My question for you, Hunter, is what motivates you to apply for an Englewood board at this time?
Yeah, for sure. Myself, I've lived in Englewood for about 2 years now. My wife and I, we moved into our house back in July was 22, and you know, I feel extremely fortunate to be in that position. You know, there's not a lot of people my age right now that are able to say like they have a house and they're stable enough to like think about trying to give back to the community right now. And I actually got a Facebook ad shortly after the election saying like, hey, apply to a commission and board here in Inglewood. So yeah, I decided to put in my application and see what comes of it.
Thank you very much, Hunter.
Good evening, Hunter. I'm Joe Anderson, District 3 council member. Looks like you applied for the library board or the Cultural Arts Commission? Very good.
Yes.
What will you bring to one of these commissions that you applied for, and how will the city benefit through your service?
Yeah, for sure. I think like I've always been drawn to public service and leadership. And, in particular, I've always been a huge reader. Always loved books. Always loved the library. For me, it feels like a natural place to start to like use some of those skills in like my engineering background of communicating with people, building consensus, like making decisions. I'm just trying to do what I can to help the community in any way possible in that role.
Very good. Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Chase. It's good to have you here this evening. My question for you is, can you describe an experience in the past in which you worked with a group of people with diverse and sometimes opposing views and perspectives?
Yeah, for sure. One that really comes to mind, like stepping into this building, is 4 years ago, I got the opportunity to, serve on jury duty. For everyone that's done that, it's always a really interesting. It's always interesting, like the diverse backgrounds that like everyone can bring to, deciding a verdict in a case. And I just found it extremely compelling, like learning some personal details about some of these other people and working with these people to on this particular case. I was fascinated by that, to be completely honest. At the end of the day, we ended up with a hung jury, but I always felt like it was a really cool experience.
That is a great example. Thank you very much.
Good evening, Hunter. I'm Tina Prang. I'm one of the at-large council members. And my question is, what do you like most about Inglewood?
Yeah, for sure. I'll say that, when my wife and I moved here, like we really fell in love with, a bunch of like the small businesses that we have in the community. Like, we end up going to like Kaladi Coffee, like up there on Broadway, like, at least like once or twice a week, and, going to as many of like the local restaurants as we can all the time. And, we love our like local community that we live into. Like we're always, walking our dog around the neighborhood, and, we really enjoy living in Inglewood.
I'm Steve Ward. I represent Council District 4. And what would you like to see improved in Inglewood regarding any of the boards and commissions you applied to?
Yeah, for sure. For the library board, I've never been to a library board meeting, but some of the things that I've thought about is like I would love to see more of like the tiny little libraries that you see in front of people's houses like every now and then, and just finding ways to give kids who maybe live in apartments or renting houses and stuff like that more access to books and those kinds of resources.
Hi, thanks so much for applying and for being here tonight. I've got a couple questions for you. One is that regular attendance and engagement is required for our board of commissions. Will you have any trouble, do you think, attending those meetings regularly?
No, I don't think so. My job is fairly flexible, and I can always find ways to work remote or whatever when I need to in order to accommodate those types of needs.
Wonderful. And how would your service on this board benefit you as an Inglewood citizen, both personally and professionally?
Yeah, for sure. You know, something I've been thinking about a lot lately is, you know, trying to develop more of those leadership skills and find ways that, you know, I can use those to benefit the community and all of that. You know, I think, you know, personally, I'd love to work with, you know, people that, you know, may have like different backgrounds than me and you know, have the opportunity to learn to communicate and negotiate and stuff with different people, so.
Thank you.
Hunter, we got about 4 minutes left, so you got plenty of questions to ask us, or plenty of time to ask us questions. So anything on your mind, anything?
Gosh, yeah, I've never participated in something like this before, and you know, I guess like I'm turning it back on you guys, like what do you guys get out of all of this? Like, you know, either personally, whatever. Like, why do you guys do this?
Every morning when I wake up, I look in the mirror and ask myself the same thing.
Yeah, there's a lot to it. So, you know, one of the previous interviews kind of stated it. So you know, I've been here since 2009. I have a kid that's in the 7th grade. So he's, you know, when I ran back in 2018, I think he was like in 1st or 2nd grade, something like that. But anyway, I was like I'm going to be here for the long haul. So I wanted to be able to make an impact for the community, and I felt that this was the place to do it. So that was my personal reason for kind of running for this, and obviously there was a big thing as well. I have environmental sustainability, and so at that point we were looking at doing a biogas project. So that's kind of what drove me here. But ultimately, it's just I want to give back. So, anyone else?
I think it's about having a say in the shape of the community around you. For me, it's you know, the layer of government that is closest to you and most significantly affects your life is the one that resides in this building. And so for me, public service is about having a say in the decisions that are being made that affect my day-to-day life.
Anyone else?
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, it's special to be able to serve your general neighbors. You know, there's people on my street who know I'm on council who will come and knock on my door and ask me a question or say they need help with something. And I think the ability in this kind of experiment of self-governance that we're in as a democracy to say, it's your turn to go and represent us, and then it'll be someone else's turn. There's nothing quite like it. It's special.
And I probably lived here the longest of anybody in this room. And I love Inglewood. I've been here a long time, and I never really paid attention to city government until probably 12 years ago. And I saw some things I thought, I don't like what's happening in this city. And my number one goal since I have been on council is to represent the citizens in this city. And people call me all the time. I know people all over the city, and that's what I love about this job. The decision-making is probably the hardest, but representing the needs of the community. And when somebody has a problem and they call you and you know who to talk to, and the problem gets fixed. So, but I have enjoyed serving, giving back to the community, so.
So Hunter, just real quick, I have a question for you, because you've applied for library board as well as cultural arts. I think both of those have a lot of applicants and not as many seats. Would you be interested in any other board?
Yeah, definitely. You know, I don't know off the top of my head what else, but yeah, I would definitely be interested.
Well, if there's anything that when we come, well, so yeah, we're just about at time. So tonight we have all of tonight, we have all of tomorrow to go through interviews. Tomorrow night we're gonna deliberate on possible placement. Next Tuesday, because Monday's Martin Luther King Day, we'll be making a final decision on Tuesday night. So at that point, somebody from city staff will reach out to you on Wednesday or Thursday next week and let you know about placement. But yeah, with that, thank you very much for coming out, Hunter.
Can I ask another question? Sure. Have you thought about code enforcement?
I don't know anything about it, but I'd be able to.
Okay.
All right. Yeah, I think your schedule allows as well. It didn't sound like there were any nights that didn't really conflict with the board's meeting. But But yeah, so Hunter, thank you very much for coming tonight. Thank you very much for your willingness to serve the community, and it was great to meet you.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks,
Yeah.
everyone.
Nice to meet
Have a great evening, man.
You too.
you. Now Hunter's gonna go home and look up code enforcement.
Good.
Have a really exciting night.
Have a good night, man.
Take care.
I have Madeline here.
Sounds good. Good evening, Madeline.
How are you today?
We're doing well. Thanks for coming tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Madeline, my name is Nathaniel Sierra. I'm mayor for the city of Inglewood, as well as council member for District 1. Tonight, Madeline, we're going to be asking you 7 questions. You'll have 10 minutes to answer those questions. I'll give you right around 1 minute. I'll let you know that we have about 60 seconds left, but we're just going to go around the room asking these 7 questions. If there's any time remaining at the end, then you can ask any questions of us. So,
Okay.
ready to begin?
Mhm.
Perfect. So my question for you, Madeline, is what motivates you to apply for an Inglewood board at this time?
I moved to Inglewood about 4 years ago from Washington, D.C., and I worked on a lot of national policy. And when I came here, I just really loved the community and wanted that to translate to, what's going on in my backyard. Now I'm a consultant and I work for a lot of different municipalities across the country. And so, getting local wins through policy and whatever, money from the feds, it doesn't really matter. I just like seeing those success stories. So, that's it.
That's great. Thank you.
Good evening, Madeline. I'm Joe Anderson, District 3 council member. My question for you tonight is what will you bring to looks like you applied for the Transportation Advisory Committee, and how will the city benefit through your service?
So I have a pretty extensive background in transportation. Like I said earlier, from the consulting side, and I worked on the Transportation Committee in the U.S. Congress. And that was when we were actually passing the IIJA, the big infrastructure bill. And so actually when I moved here, I was really excited to see that the lead replacement program was already being executed because I had seen a lot of stories of other communities where it was not. So I just think that I know a lot about the background and policy, so I'd like to help out there.
Very good, thank you.
Good evening, Madeline. I'm Rita Russell. I'm one of the at-large council members. And my question for you is, please describe an experience in the past during which you worked with a group of people with diverse and sometimes opposing views and perspectives.
Not to go back to my previous job, but passing that bill was very difficult. My position was the Director of Member Services and Stakeholder Outreach. So that basically includes every industry in transportation, along with all of the members of Congress. So, that took a long time to get passed, and it took a lot of negotiating because, we really wanted a big investment, but there were obviously differing opinions about where that money should go to. So I think just communicating and being truthful with I was a staff member. I think just being able to communicate well and be honest about, what's on the table, what can we take away, what can we offer you. Those types of negotiating skills are how we got it done, so.
Great, thank you.
Hi, Madeline. I'm Tina Prang. I'm also an at-large council member. My question for you is, what do you like about Inglewood?
I love it. Coming from Washington, D.C., I grew up in the area. And it's a great city. It's just, it's a city, and it's a very political city. And I had several friends from this area who actually grew up in Inglewood from college. And when I was looking to move out here, this was like my first #1 priority community. And so my partner and I just bought our first house here, and we just, it's easy to get around. It still feels like a small town. From where I live on Dartmouth and Downing, you can walk downtown very easily, and it's just a great city.
I'm Steve Ward, I represent Council District 4. What, if anything, would you like to see improved about the boards or commissions that you applied to?
Well, I guess I only applied to one, but, and also, this might be out of turn, but I was gonna say, I also am interested in the Water and Sewer Board. I know that sounds really
No, I was gonna
flash.
say, there's so many people
So
that
many
applied for
people
that one this
Oh,
time
really?
around, and we usually don't have as many applicants as we do this time around. I just found it funny that so many people applied for it.
Well, yeah, working on water infrastructure, it's not necessarily the sexiest issue in policy, but that's another, just I put my name down even though it's a competitive pool. But in terms of what I think could be better, perhaps communication a little bit. I received the publication that I get in the mail. It's great. I do think social media is something that, and I'm not on Facebook, so maybe there's a huge Facebook presence that I'm not aware of, but I am on Twitter, and it's not that up to date. And I think usually Twitter is a good tool to get news out pretty quickly, at least in my experience. So I'm not trying to push a platform or anything, but I do think social media, especially for some of the younger people in the community.
We do well on Instagram.
Oh, nice.
Regular attendance and engagement at boards and commissions is required. Do you think you'll be able to attend all the meetings?
Yes, I work remotely, so that shouldn't be a problem.
Okay, wonderful. We are actually neighbors. You live in my district.
Oh,
so
very
nice
nice.
to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you for applying for this. And if you were to serve on one of these boards or commissions, how do you think it would benefit you as an Inglewood citizen, either personally or professionally?
Well, as I said, I love Inglewood, but in my profession now, I have some clients from all across the country, small towns, small municipalities, and one of them is in Cape Cod, and that's where my family grew up. And so it's the ferry service out there that I help represent and get money for and consult on. And every time that we're able to get something through, it just feels like it's such a good feeling for me, because it's like, oh, that's where my family's from. Like, oh, it just feels like you're doing something that really is fulfilling. And so that's why.
Great, thank you.
So Madeline, we have about 3 minutes left. Do you have any questions for us?
What's the turnaround time for?
Pretty quick.
Okay.
So it's pretty quick. So we're interviewing tonight and then tomorrow night as well. We'll deliberate at the end of tomorrow night's sessions and just kind of put people in place. But we'll make the ultimate decision next Tuesday on payday. At that point, somebody from city staff will reach out to you on Wednesday or Thursday and let you know about possible placement. And then the first meeting, if you were to make a board, your first meeting would be in February.
Okay, great. I don't think I have any other
Mayor,
questions.
could I ask?
Sure, go ahead.
Just for the sake of serving on the board, would you ever have any reason that you would consult for Inglewood potentially and have any conflict of interest kind of scenarios?
I don't think so. I have done a little bit of consulting for Grand County, but that's the only Colorado client that I've ever had. So I can't imagine that would ever be a conflict.
Okay.
All right, Madeline, with no further questions yet. So thank you very much for your willingness to serve. As I mentioned, you'll hear from us sometime next week. But yeah, with that, thank you very much and have a great evening.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It was nice to see all of you.
Yeah, have a good evening. We're ahead of schedule by 3 minutes. You're gonna be out here at 8:27. Good evening, Rick.
Hi, how are you?
Doing well. How you doing tonight? Thanks for making it tonight. My name is Oak Daniels here. I'm a council member for District 1 as well as mayor for the city. Rick, we're gonna be asking you 7 questions tonight. You'll have 10 minutes to answer those questions. If there's any time remaining at the end of those 7 questions, you're free to ask us any questions you have. So, with that, are you ready to begin?
Sure, thank you.
Perfect. So Rick, my question for you is, what motivates you to apply for an Inglewood board at this time?
Yeah, I have moved here, bought a house in 2019, and so have always been excited about wanting to contribute to whichever town or community I live in. I've previously lived in Boston and Santa Barbara and landed in Denver before choosing to move to Inglewood in 2019. And so was excited to get involved. I've been checking out some of the committees either through the online meetings or attending a meeting. I was at the Parks and Recs meeting back in November. And so I had an opportunity to see if that fit. I like to find a good alignment with both myself and my skills, and so had made the point to check that one out. My husband sits on the transportation committee also, and so have had a chance to learn about that, and so just thought it was time.
Sounds great. Thank you, Rick.
Good evening, Rick. My question, I'm Joe Anderson, District 3 Councilmember. Hi. What will you bring to the Parks and Rec Commission, and how will the city benefit through your service?
Yeah, I think one of the things about being a communications professional for over 20 years now is the opportunity to understand the importance of bringing voices to the table. Similar to this table, not everyone can have a seat, but that doesn't mean you don't bring in or find a way to reflect what you're hearing in the community at that table. And so I think that that's something that is a strong component of how I do my work, and a strong component of how I would lead on any kind of commission or committee.
Very good, thank you.
Hi, Rick. I'm Rita Russell. I'm an at-large council member, and my question for you is describe an experience in the past during which you worked in a group of people with diverse and sometimes opposing views and perspectives.
Yeah, again, I think being in communications, you tend to find yourself in that space a lot. And so whether your ideas are the ones that are inevitably move forward or you're able to contribute, I think back to more professional experiences in terms of thinking about time in government and time even within healthcare or the university system, where there is definitely something that is brought forth by a chancellor or by a president of the system or by an elected official, and that ultimately is the goal that you're all trying to achieve. And so my take on that, again, is to bring as many voices to the table. That mine is just one of those, or perhaps an opportunity to summarize voices, and then to take a chance, take that opportunity to listen to what other people are bringing and finding common ground and compromise in that space. That generally, there is not only one way to do something, and generally, I believe you can find that compromise if you're listening as much as you are speaking. And so one of the things about communications is that people often think that is about what is coming out of your mouth. And I have often said, both when running my own consulting firm and doing work, that it's as much about my ears as it is about my mouth, and being able to hear what other people have to say in order to, again, find that common ground to move toward that end goal.
Thank you.
Good evening, Rick.
Hi.
Tina Prang, a council member at large. Good to see you this evening. My question for you is, what do you like most about Inglewood?
I love the neighborhood feel. I love the trees. I love the parks and open spaces. I do not have family, meaning children, and so schools and those kinds of things, I stay as much up to date about them as I can, but they're not my number one priority here. Yeah, I don't know. I fell in love with Inglewood. I think that when people happen to move to Denver, if that's where you're coming from, you end up finding yourself being someone who heads north or east or west or south. And I was one of those people who had friends in Inglewood. Found myself always south at the Grand. And then from there, getting to explore. And so as my husband and I were choosing where to live, Inglewood is really where I wanted to live. It's where we chose to be here. And there's something about it. I love the downtown. I love the commitment to the bike paths. I love the public transportation that we take downtown from the station here all of the time. And so there was just something about it that felt like home. And so then we made it our home.
Hi, I'm Steve Ward. I represent Council District 4 in Southwest Inglewood. And my question for you is, what would you like to see improved regarding the boards and commissions that you applied for?
What would I like to see improved? I think the Well, what I loved about what I saw in the email about the number of folks who were applying that you all get a chance to meet and interview with, I think even just that depth of the number of folks was really exciting. I think far too often in some of these town committees, it's the same 4 people or same 5 people. And I think that that has been the case with some of the commissions and committees here, but I'm starting to see that a lot less, and hoping that again, that sort of general drive and interest that I could see at least through the folks like myself who applied this time around, and the folks who I know applied with my husband in the last round last year. I'm just seeing that expansion. And so I think, again, to that point, and the question that Rita asked about how do you have diverse conversations with diverse groups of people is making sure you have diverse groups of people around the table.
Thank you.
Good evening, I'm District 2. Thank you for being here and for applying. Regular attendance and engagement is required for all our boards and commissions. Do you think you'll be able to attend the meetings if you're elected?
Yes, my plan would be to attend the meetings, also to, I know a lot of the Parks and Rec stuff right now has a lot of community meetings going on, and being able to attend where appropriate in those places as well. So beyond just the prescribed meetings each month, but taking real advantage of the opportunity to see all the other things that are going on as it relates to that work, and the other committees and commissions that align with Parks and Rec, or any of the commissions that I would be on. I would also want to go and be a part of some of those other opportunities, because there is overlap and there is collaboration there, and would want to make sure I was a good partner, not just around this table and listening to whoever's on TV, wherever that is, but being in those rooms as well, so.
Wonderful. And if you were to be appointed, how would your service on the board or commission benefit you as an Inglewood citizen, either personally or professionally?
Yeah, personally, I live right next to Cushing Park, so I'm going to see some immediate benefit whether I'm selected or not. So I hope that doesn't dissuade anyone from moving me forward. But I will be a champion for what I will see at Cushing Park over the next couple of years for the rest of the system, as well as the recreation site. Personally, I'm also benefiting because I have recently booked my upcoming 50th birthday party at the Malley Rec Center. So also just again, finding venues and opportunities to be able to be committed to the town that I really love being in. So there's a lot personal there. I think professionally, I talked a lot about it at the beginning around being a communications person and wanting to make sure that where I can bring multiple voices to the table when those seats aren't available, those are extremely important to me.
Great. Well, also happy birthday.
May, but yes.
Thank you.
So Rick, we got about 2.5 minutes. Any questions for us?
Yeah, I think for me, and maybe this is as much for everyone watching as it is for me, if anyone's watching. My husband might be watching, so hello, wherever he is. Commissions, committees, boards, any just sort of general understanding and knowledge between the difference between all those monikers, like what makes a committee, a commission, a board, a board.
Anyone want to jump in?
Sometimes they have duties that are prescribed in the charter, and those are often referred to as commissions. Planning and Zoning Commission, for instance, is a quasi-judicial body, meaning that they make decisions that can be challenged at a court level. They act as effectively a trial body of sorts. What's the other one? Adjustment and Appeals would be another example there. And then we have boards like the Budget Advisory Committee. It's called a committee, but it's really just a citizen board.
Okay.
And that they operate in more of an advisory capacity. So some of our boards and commissions have decision-making function outside of what council would do, or they make decisions and then they refer those decisions to council for ratification. And some of them do not.
Okay.
That's kind of
Great.
best way I can sum up that difference.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So Rick, actually, I got a question for you.
Yeah,
Just, you kind of alluded to it during one of your answers, but you only put in for the Parks and Rec Commission. Are you open to any others?
Yeah, I have put on Parks and Rec and the Public Library Board, having worked in libraries before. I thought I could be helpful there. I've also served on cultural arts commissions in other cities that I've lived in, and definitely think that I could be an asset there as well. So, but I am pretty open. I want to contribute. So.
Yeah, we just have more applicants this time around than open seats, so
Yeah.
I just want to keep it open if you would be willing to serve in anything other than the ones that you listed. So, All right, we got 20 seconds. Anything quick?
No, thank you all for what you do and having us here tonight. So
Yeah, Rick,
appreciate
thank you
the
very much. It
opportunity.
was great to meet you. Yeah. Oh, so the process, so we'll interview tonight and tomorrow night.
Yep.
We'll deliberate tomorrow evening. Final placement will be done next Tuesday night.
Okay.
At that point, somebody from the city staff will reach out to you once there's
All right.
final placement. So it's great to meet you.
Yeah,
Thank you very
good to
much
meet
for
you
your
all.
willingness to
Thank you
serve.
so much. Have a
Thank
good
you.
evening.
Have a good night.
Got Alexa here.
Good evening, Alexa. How you doing?
How are you all?
Doing well. Thanks for coming tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. Alexa, my name is Nathaniel Sierra. I'm a council member for District 1 as well as mayor for the city. Alexa, we're going to ask you 7 questions tonight. You'll have 10 minutes to answer those questions. If there's any time remaining, you're free to ask us any questions that you happen to have. We're going to go around the room just to my left, asking these 7 questions. So are you ready to begin?
Yes.
Perfect. All right, first question for you is what motivates you to apply for an Inglewood board at this time?
I am relatively new to the community, so I bought a house in July, I think it was.
This year, like months ago?
Yes, like 2024.
Yeah.
And I just have loved the house that I moved into, and I want to get a part of the community, contribute, and become a part of the everyday life here.
Cool. Thank you so much and welcome.
Good evening, Alexa. Joe Anderson, I'm District 3 council member. My question for you tonight is what will you bring to the Board of Commissions that you've applied for, which looks like is Water and Sewer and Public Library Board? And how will the city benefit through your service?
Well, speaking to the Water and Sewer Board, I currently am the legislative policy analyst for the Legislative Council staff, which is a nonpartisan research agency that works for the General Assembly. I am the water staff for them, so I've worked there. I'm in my 5th session, which just started a few days ago. And so I've worked in water policy and statewide now for 4 years, a little over 4 years, and I'm very attuned to what goes on in water in Colorado. I care a lot about water in Colorado, how it interacts with municipalities and agriculture and our resources and where water comes from and where it goes and how it gets from one place to another. And so I have a vast knowledge of those laws that currently govern Colorado water. And speaking to the public library, I guess my main reason is that I read a lot and my books come from the public library. So I appreciate the services that they provide, and if I could help just be a part of those services to get it to other people, then I would want to contribute anything that I could.
Great, thank you.
Good evening, Alexa. I'm Rita Russell. I'm one of the at-large council members, and it's great to have you here this evening. My question for you is please describe an experience in the past during which you worked in a group of people with diverse and sometimes opposing views and perspectives.
Ooh, that would actually be hard to narrow down. I work for the General Assembly.
Everything you do?
Everything I do is with opposing views and opposing everything. And as part of one of the reasons that I actually love working for the legislature, I get to see bipartisanship and people come together every single day, but not every single day is like that. And so part of my role really just daily is finding ways to meet legislator needs, regardless of maybe I'm not always loving this individual person's opinion or what they're asking of me, and doing that in a way that not only comes across nonpartisan, but is nonpartisan is really important to our office while maintaining like the accuracy and integrity of our work. And so I think just my general exposure to the legislature itself lends well to working with people with opposing and different views, and I have no inclination to leave there. I absolutely love working there. And in addition to that, I work with constituents of individual legislators, so they often come to their legislators with questions or complaints, about things that are happening in their district, and legislators don't often know the answers to a lot of things, especially if they didn't come to the legislature with the goal to work in water. A lot of people work in like education and healthcare, and they don't have a lot of expertise in all of these policy areas they touch. So they'll come to my office, questions read to me. And so sometimes part of my job is just sitting and talking to a constituent and hearing their complaint and seeing what I can do. And if I can't do anything, then trying to find someone who can do something. And sometimes not taking those things personally also. It's not about me. So I know that wasn't a distinct, exact scenario, but it really is just what I do every day.
Great, thank you.
Good evening, Alexa. I'm Tina Prang. I'm also an at-large council member. And my question for you is, what do you like most about Inglewood? I know you've been here a short amount of time, but maybe what attracted you to move here, and what do you like best about it so far?
I think the smallness of Inglewood, at least from my perspective, is what really attracted me to come here in the first place. I just moved from Southeast Denver, so I'm not necessarily new to Colorado by any means or the area. But I distinctly was like very honed in on Inglewood for just the fact that it kind of is its own little, not a town, but it feels more like a town compared to Denver. And I just wanted more of that experience just living somewhere. And I could buy a house here, which was great. And my dog has a yard, and that's also something that attracted me here. So just kind of having something that was more community focused, and Denver just feels really big, and I spend enough time downtown. So just anytime I can get outside of downtown is good for me.
I'm Steve Ward. I represent Council District 4. Just as a side note, I probably know many of your colleagues from my time at the Secretary of State's office as the clerk to the ballot title sitting board.
Oh, yes.
I did that for almost 10 years. So worlds colliding. My question for you is, what would you like to see improved, if anything, about the boards or commissions that you applied for?
My first instinct is to say to have more people my age on these boards, people who are younger and have a different perspective, people who are even younger than me. I'm barely 30, so there are plenty of people that I think could get involved and have a say in these communities. I think too often I'm the youngest person in the room, and I think that just trying to reach out to people of the up-and-coming community and getting them exposed to what they could do for their community and in their community would improve just how we live and what we're doing in any community really, but especially in boards and commissions. And yeah, just having them on is a part of the table.
Thank you.
Hi, thanks for applying, and thanks for being here. My name is Chelsea Niedekamp. I'm the district coordinator. Regular attendance and engagement in boards and commissions is required. Do you have any concerns about your ability to attend regular meetings for the next 120 days?
No, I specifically applied to boards that are meeting on evenings where I should not be at the Capitol late at night. So I tried to make that effort because I knew going into session I may not leave at 5 a lot of certain
Is it on
days.
Monday?
Yes. Yeah.
And if you were to be appointed, how would your service impact you or benefit you personally and professionally?
I think, I'm professionally, I work at a state level, so I have a very high level view of what goes on here in Colorado. And I don't often get to immerse myself in what goes on in the on the ground level. I do more so during the interim when I get to travel with the Water Resources Committee. But even that is still so focused on high level state policy and how it affects the entire state and all the people of Colorado and sometimes even the surrounding states. So I think just having the opportunity to be on a board would allow me to be more immersed in municipal level, city level, community level, person to person level, and just allow me to do that. And then hopefully bring some of the knowledge and skills and relationships that I gain through the boards and commissions and bring that up to the legislature as well. And personally, I just think it's important to be a part of the community that you want to live in and be a part of creating the community that you want to see every day.
We have a little bit under 90 seconds. Alexa, do you have any questions for us?
I guess you could do like a quick round robin, but what is your favorite part about serving on the board or a commission that you're all currently on?
Anyone want to take that? So.
When I was on a committee, I just say, I learned so much about the city. It was a great primer to understand my neighbors and the needs of the city, and so I think it's a great crash course.
Anyone else?
I'd say speaking to your point about bringing more youth and youthful voices into the conversation, for me, it's been very important to model to my kids community service, and I think that that's a really important thing to continue in our society.
I was going to say, just meeting other, since I've never actually served on a board or commission before getting on city council, but one of the things that I do enjoy about the boards is just getting to meet other neighbors or that I just don't frequent as often. It's just getting their viewpoints, and that's been one of the benefits I've seen from the few boards that I do liaison for. Cool. So I think, yeah, that's just about time, Alexa. So tonight we're going to interview. We're going to have a night of interviews tomorrow night as well. We'll deliberate a little bit as well at the end of tomorrow evening. We'll make final decisions on Tuesday night just because MLK Day is on Monday. So we'll meet on Tuesday. At that point, somebody from city staff will reach out to you on Wednesday or Thursday next week about final placement. But it was great to meet you. Thank you very much for your willingness to serve.
Thank you guys. Thanks for being
Yeah.
here.
Thank you, Alexa. Have a good night.
Thanks, you too.
Tell the fiscal note guys I say hi.
Oh, yeah, I am one of those.
So something just popped up in my head. Rita, Steve, I'm kind of wondering if we have the right numbers for water and sewer board. Because if Mr. Moore is being reappointed, what's the gentleman that had to step down this year? Just recently, his position should be open, right?
Maybe, but wasn't Ty, who
Yeah,
was
but he
the
was out.
alternate? There may
Should
be an
be an
But
alternate.
there should be an alternate available, I guess is my point.
Yes, maybe.
So. Hello,
No sign of our 610?
Melina? Melina.
Yes. And no
Melina.
sign yet quite of our 620. We have our 630, so.
Well, if Amy wants to jump in now, I guess we could do that. Yeah, let's just have Amy jump in. But no Alex yet, no.
We could ask Jackie to look.
Yeah,
into
I
that.
think we will,
Okay.
yeah.
Pretty sure that entire department is not a big fan of me.
Yeah, why'd you bring it up then?
See, I don't know my enemies over
Yeah,
there.
exactly. It's not gonna make your life easy. Hi, Amy.
Hi, guys.
Good
How
evening.
you doing?
Thanks for making time for us tonight. How are you doing?
Good. Does it matter where I am?
Now choose a chair, any chair.
Okay.
Up to you.
Oh, it's chilly tonight. I was pretty much inside all day and I forgot that it got
There's a
cold.
cold breeze out there. So Amy, thank you very much for making time for tonight. Obviously, you know who I am. I'm your neighbor as well. So, Amy, we're going to be asking you 7 questions tonight. You'll have 10 minutes to answer those questions. If there's any time remaining at the end of those 7 questions, then you're free to ask us any questions at all. I will be going just to my left in terms of questions. I'll ask the first question, but are you ready to begin?
Sure.
All right, so my question for you, and I just lost my question, but what motivates you to apply for an Inglewood board at this time?
I think I'm really excited about the direction Inglewood is going, and I think there's good opportunity for more community involvement, and yeah, I see the opportunity, so. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Amy.
Hi, Amy. Joe Anderson, District 3 Council Member. My question for you tonight is what will you bring to P&Z and that will benefit the city through serving on that board?
Well, I think I come from a place where, if you guys don't know, I'm a realtor. Okay, so I come from a place where, besides the fact that we're in a housing crisis, we are in, again, a great opportunity to not only help in the housing crisis, but I think forward to how Inglewood can differentiate itself from Denver, big city, and more suburban. Like we have oh my gosh, we have such great diverse zoning in all of Inglewood, I believe. And I know from the consumer standpoint what we need, and I've also taken classes and been on different boards and talked about how we could make changes, how you could do different building, what the community needs, not just in their housing, but what they expect in their neighborhoods.
Good, thank you.
Good evening, good evening, Amy. I'm Rita Russell.
Hi, Rita.
I'm one of the at-large council members. My question for you is, please describe an experience in the past during which you worked in a group of people with diverse and sometimes opposing views and perspectives.
Okay, well, I am chair of our Government Affairs Committee with the Denver Board of Realtors. And if you don't know, that realtors are very opinionated. And I've been on that committee off and on for almost 20 years. And so this year being chair, I have a unique opportunity that's been really fun. And I don't have to be one of the people who is trying to sell to the other side of why they should think like I think or why they should take this into consideration. And so we do that all of the time. And we can get very heated, and we have a mission and that we go by, but we all sometimes get our personal feelings involved and have to like step back and remind ourselves, like, we're not doing this just for me, we're doing this for all of our Denver and metro area residents. We're doing this on behalf of the bigger picture. And so a lot of times we will disagree for an hour and a half. And then at the end of the day, decide how are we going to come to an agreement, or how are we going to disagree for another 2 weeks while we then go have a drink with each other and just kind of work and massage some of those things out. That's one way. The other way is, every day in my business, I'm solving problems and negotiating with people every single day, whether it's a contractor or a buyer or a seller. So I feel like that's one of my strengths, that's just what I do on an everyday basis.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah.
Good evening, Amy. I'm Tina Prang. I'm also an at-large council member. My question for you is, what do you like most about Inglewood?
Oh gosh, so I came from Denver, West Wash Park. And I moved basically 3 miles south of where I live now. And what I love about it, again, is the opportunity, but Inglewood kind of feels like a little small town to me on the edge of a big city. And obviously that's what it is, but it feels like a small town. So like when I eat at Zomo, when I eat at whatever, I can still walk to the restaurants like I did in Denver, but Inglewood just has this warm, welcoming, small town feel. And I love, love, love that part of it. Yeah. I especially love what everybody's, I don't know who all has done it, but the artwork, so charming and so just like welcoming, open arms. And I just feel like that's what Inglewood is. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Steve Ward. I represent Council District 4, and my question for you is, what, if anything, would you like to see improved regarding the boards and commissions that you applied for?
I don't know if I could say anything improved, but I do feel like I could just bring a different perspective. And so I don't know that I would walk in thinking anything needs to be improved. I would just have a different perspective maybe than anybody else has had or that anybody has currently. And not that it's just a fresh perspective, I guess. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Chelsea Needingham,
Hi.
council member. Regular attendance and engagement is required for all our boards and commissions. Do you have any concerns about your ability to attend scheduled meetings?
Nope, as long as they're scheduled, I can make them happen. Yep.
One more for you.
I can make, yep.
How will your service on this commission board to be appointed benefit you as a board resident if you pursue new professions?
Good question. I think professionally, I have been a realtor and been involved in like zoning and all that stuff off and on again for almost 20 years. And I think it just would it's just something that I just love and I have that interest in. So I think it just kind of fulfills that other part, that even though I love selling houses every day and that's what my basic background is, I just have this other thing about zoning, and I do a lot of construction work for my clients and I love construction. I have sat on like new build construction sites. And so from that point of view, it's just kind of like this other part that is my passion about real estate and about changes in the city, because it's more than just our houses, it's a community. Yeah.
Amy, we have about 3 minutes, so do you have any questions for us?
Yeah, I have a question. What do you guys think that the biggest hurdle for planning and zoning will be over the next year or two?
Well,
I don't know if hurdle is the right word, but, you know.
No, I think it just, to me, like the way that I take the question, I think it's just like, I take it more of a development question, like in terms of the city overall, not necessarily just for the board. But I think it's just, I think it's just something like, kind of like the way that's the way I'm taking the question, so I'm going to answer it in that way. But just just all the conversations that we've been having at the city level, but also the state level, nationwide, we're talking about housing and how we can bring, more housing, more density into the area. But also the one part that I want to bring in, or the hardest part for me, is like, how can you make it work based on the actual realities of the economy and how much it costs to build and all that other stuff. So for me, like the biggest issue is like, can we really get some of these smaller starter homes built within the city itself? So I don't know if that's really a planning and zoning question, but it's just, how can we make that a reality? That's what I would like to say.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I'd add on the Affordable Housing Task Force is coming to us with their recommendations next week, which are very broad, general recommendations. And P&Z, I think, will play a huge role in narrowing those recommendations down and figuring out how to make those actually actionable.
Oh, that would be good. Okay, yeah.
I would also add that this year we're doing a very kind of small update to our comprehensive plan as a city, but that will need a larger update probably in the next 5 years, I'm guessing. And P&Z is a huge part of that. So those are big kind of long range strategy things in addition to some of the near term priorities.
Yeah, and I think it's so important to get ahead of them, for the city to get ahead of them. And it's having that vision and taking a leap of faith without changing the city. We don't want it to be Denver. We don't want it to be Douglas County. We want it to stay, I don't know about you guys, but stay charming Inglewood, but also thinking forward so that we can continue to grow as a city, I guess, in my mind. I sit on Legislative Policy Committee and I hear that, and I'm on the Land Use Committee and I'm vice chair for that. So I guess I didn't even think about that, but I can bring that knowledge of, I think we've already got 25 bills, coming down the pipeline for that, of how the state bills are going to change what the city, all of our cities look like, the whole metro area potentially. Yeah.
So can I ask you?
Sure.
Another question. So have you watched any of the P&Z
I have.
meetings?
Yeah.
Okay, so.
Yeah.
Because I wondered how you come up with that. You'll come up with a different perspective, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Because if you don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do. I have watched several of them, and some of them I kind of question, like, I wonder why they would ask that question. Because to me it seems so basic, but then I also have stepped back and said, maybe they asked that question to make sure that everybody watching understands the why.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So.
Thank you. I
Okay.
appreciate it.
Yeah, Amy, thank you very much for coming tonight. Thank you very much for your willingness to serve. So we're gonna interview tonight and tomorrow night. We'll start putting placements tomorrow night, and we'll ultimately vote next Tuesday night on,
Okay.
where potentially you may be sitting. So at that point, somebody from city staff will be reaching out to you Wednesday of next week and let you know about final placement. But great to see you tonight. Thank you very much for your willingness to serve.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Yeah, nice to see you all.
Right.
Okay.
Have a good night.
You
Stay
too.
warm.
Stay warm, you guys. I think it's just gonna get colder the next 3 days, right?
Yeah, it's just gonna get colder.
Oh, gosh. Okay, well, take care.
You got a couple of.
I think it's probably like 15 15 below this weekend.
What's that?
15 below.
Yeah, I saw that. It's ridiculous how cold it can get.
Dangerous.
For like 4 days, 4 or 5 days of it.
I've got Alex here.
Hi.
Hello, Alex. Good evening. Thanks for making it tonight. Alex, I am Opeña Sierra. I'm council member for District 1 as well as mayor for the city. Alexa. Alex, we are going to be asking you 7 questions tonight. You have 10 minutes to answer those questions. If there's any time remaining at the end of those 7 questions, you're free to ask us anything you like. And we're just going to be going to my left, and I'll be asking that first question. So are you ready to begin?
Great, let's go.
All right, perfect. Alex, my question for you is, what motivates you to apply for an Inglewood board at this time?
Yeah, a couple of things. I've been a resident since 2021, District 1 actually, you're my council member. And I really love living in Englewood, and I figured it was time to get more involved in the community. And then specifically, I'm interested in the library board because I love the library. I've been a user of libraries my whole life. As a child, definitely more programs than as an adult, but I love to read, I love to spend time in community spaces, I love the digital services that are offered. And so I wanted to volunteer to help support the library in my hometown.
Perfect. Thank you, Alex. It's great to meet you.
Hi, Alex. Joe Anderson, District 3 council member. My question for you is, what will you bring to the Public Library Board, and how will Inglewood benefit from your service?
Yeah, I think a couple of things. I have a wealth of experience in financial review and documentation. I currently work as an underwriter for a nonprofit that provides loans for the public benefit. And so I've spent a lot of time looking at things like budgets, income statements, balance sheets. And so I have that experience for the financials that I imagine might be needed for a position of this. And then in addition, not now, but my previous role was at the Denver Department of Housing Stability. So I do also have some, not super direct, not super hands-on experience, but some experience with members of our community who are homeless. And I know that that's something that the library provides, is like a space for people to come and be, regardless of whether they're housed or not. And I also know it's a challenge that the library has faced, figuring out how to manage providing those services for those community members of ours.
Very good, thank you.
Good evening, Alex. I'm Rita Russell. I'm one of the at-large council members. My question for you is, please describe an experience in the past during which you worked with a group of people with diverse and sometimes opposing views and perspectives.
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say that I do that actually quite often in my day. My job specifically surrounds financing for affordable housing developments. I'm sure you guys are all familiar with this, but the stacks, the capital stacks on those developments are usually very complex. This was both my current role and my previous role at the city. And so there's a lot of managing, well, the city who is lending wants to see like A, B, and C things laid out. The tax credit authority wants to see A, B, and C things laid out. The developer has this budget, needs these sorts of items. And so very used to negotiating with a diverse number of people to say, all right, well, we can definitely get our A and your A, but maybe we have to give up our B and you give up your C, that sort of thing.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, Alex. I'm Tina Prang. I'm also an at-large council member. And I have a better question than Ms. Russell.
She's got the best. I'm excited now.
What do you like most about Inglewood?
Honestly, it is the library. I love coming to the library. I would say I'm at the library at least once a month, and I run through my digital checkouts like wildfire. I really like coming here. I like spending time in the books. I like being around. I love that it has a printer. If I need to, access the computer or the internet, it's very easy to do that. Ideally, I'd like to be using some of the services like the knitting club, but that meets on the Wednesdays, and I'm busy on Wednesdays. So yeah, and also adults only night at Pirates Cove. That's my other favorite. Love adults only night. Big fan of that.
Thank you.
I'm Steve Ward. I represent Council District 4, and my question for you is, what, if anything, would you like to see improved in Inglewood regarding the board or commission that you applied to?
I think that a couple of things that line up for me, I know this one's really hard, but I know librarian retention and pay can be difficult, and I think, those people are doing very difficult jobs with extremely strict requirements for education. You have to have a degree to be a librarian, really. And so I think that it's important that we make sure that our librarians are being compensated appropriately. And I also think there is maybe space to provide more community output, more community development options, more makerspace, things like that. I know that all really depends on budget though.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Chelsea Newton, district member for, council member for District 2. Thank you for being here, thank you for applying to be part of your community. I have a couple questions for you. One is regular attendance is required at all our board commission meetings and engagement. Do you have any concerns about your ability to schedule meetings?
Meets on Tuesday, right?
Thursday.
Also no.
Okay, great. Thursday. And the second is, how would your service on the library board benefit you as an Inglewood citizen and personally?
I think it would allow me to be more involved in my community, which is one of the things I mentioned, make connections with people, learn more about what the community needs out of the library. I know that I certainly come from a pretty solid place of privilege. I own my home. I make good money at my job. And so I know that there are blind spots for me as well as what does the library need? So would look forward to learning more about what my fellow residents of Inglewood think about that.
Alex, we have about 3.5 minutes left. Do you have any questions for us?
What is a brief overview of the responsibilities of being on the library board, would you say?
I can share about that.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I'm the city council liaison to the library board. And oftentimes, if you watch some meetings, you'll see this. The librarians will share both updates from their strategic plan, how they're working against that, with feedback from the board, direction, things that they would like to see differently, as well as just statistical reports of the kind of data behind the library so that the board knows what's going on. They do manage a small budget that they allocate throughout the year for different needs. And then they collaborate on when the librarians need help on new policies or new initiatives. For example, we do not have a Friends of the Library group, which many other libraries do to help them pay for new initiatives. How can the board members come together and help be the kind of working body for some of those things, as well as participating and helping to lead and run book sales and events for the library. We're running the booth at the block party to help encourage more people to sign up for their library cards. And right now they're doing a strategic plan for the library, which is a really exhaustive process to think about how do we have long-range planning for the library, how do we make sure that it's serving the needs of our community. So there's some of the things that they're working on and giving input on.
Fantastic, thank you.
Anything else?
Other than the monthly meeting?
Yes.
Yeah, what other time requirements are there? You mentioned the booth at the block parties.
There are regular requests for a volunteer, but they're not required. It's as people are available.
Great. I think that's all the questions I have.
Cool. All right. Well, Alex, I'll ask this question even though you're very passionate about the library board. Were there any other boards that you would consider?
Maybe Parks and Rec.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm open to other things, but the library board is really where my interest lies.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I got that from your answers. But so Alex, I guess so tonight we'll have full night of interviews tonight as well as tomorrow night. We'll deliberate possible placement tomorrow night. We'll make final decisions next Tuesday night. At that point, somebody from city staff will reach out to you on Wednesday about final placement. So, and your first meeting, if you were to be placed, would be in February. So, but we have nothing else, Alex. Thank you very much for your willingness to serve. Thank you very much for coming tonight. Yeah, it was great to meet you.
Wonderful. Thank you all for your time.
Have a great evening.
Thanks. You too. Thanks.
Jackie did confirm there is an alternate position open on water sewer board.
Oh, perfect. So
Yes.
you texted her during the.
Yeah, so she will update the chief for tomorrow.
Perfect. That's good news.
I've got Isaac here.
Hey, how you doing, Alex? Isaac? Yeah, if you just want to sit on this side. Pick a chair, any chair. All yours. Isaac, it's good to meet you. My name's Ope Yashir. I'm council member for District 1 as well as mayor for the city. Alex, we're going to be asking you 7 questions tonight. You'll have 10 minutes to answer those questions. If there's any time remaining, feel free to ask any questions of us at the end of the 7 questions. I'll ask the first question. We're just going to go to my left for the 7. Are you ready to begin?
Sure.
Actually, I should have turned off the time of the previous speaker. Let me get that started. All right. So my first question for you, Isaac, is what motivates you to apply for an Inglewood board at this time?
So specifically for water, I grew up around water distribution and water conservation. My dad worked at a water district pretty much all my life, specifically in water conservation. So I went with him to all the conferences, all the trade shows, and learned a lot about water. And then eventually I got my Distribution 2 water distribution certificate through the state of California, and worked at a water district for about 6 months while I was trying to get on board with them. They had a water meter program, so I helped exchange about 1,100 water meters in that 6 months. So something that's really important to me, just growing up with it, conservation and water just in general has been very high priority in my life.
Sounds great. Thank you, Isaac.
Good evening, Isaac. I'm Joe Anderson, District 3 Council Member. What will you bring to the Water and Sewer Board that will benefit the city through your service?
Would like to say youth, but I'm not that young, so not anymore anyways. But just experience about working in the water industry, and I'm still I work for a company called Green is Greater. So we do a lot of green initiative stuff, LED lighting, low flow toilets. So I'm still part of the conservation side of things. So that experience I think would be really helpful in a water environment, and just letting the general public have that information as well, because a lot of people are misinformed and they don't know and they just assume whatever they read is true. So I think it's important that people know, so just bringing that knowledge.
Very good, thank you.
Good evening, Isaac. I'm Rita Russell. I'm one of the at-large council members. And my question for you is, can you please describe an experience in the past during which you worked in a group of people with diverse and sometimes opposing views and perspectives?
So we just had a lot of turnover at the company I work for. There was 2 guys that wanted to start their own company, but they weren't going about it the right way. Different ethnicities and stuff like that. So it got pretty tense at times. Me being from California, I'm very multicultural. I grew up around everybody, all ethnicities. So when they wanted me to be on their side, I just kind of leveled it out for them. I don't agree with what you're doing, but if you go about it the right way, I can hop on board. Same thing with this other guy, he wanted to do, and it got really tense at times with me being the supervisor. One of the supervisors, they were also supervisors, and they wanted to just kind of overthrow our current boss. And I was like, nope, I'm not doing it. I like my job.
Great.
And I'm not trying to, do that racial type of thing. And I'm very low key. I try not to get mad. And even my boss says, you handle things so much better than I would have. Like, I don't know how you stay so calm. But it's just being around things so much in my life. It just kind of helps me just push it down a little bit and let's get to business.
Great. Thank you.
Good evening, Isaac. I'm Tina Prang. I'm also an at-large council member. I have a question that hopefully you can enjoy some enthusiasm about. What do you like most about Inglewood?
I like all the parks. It's pretty cool just being able to drive a couple minutes from my house. I mean, I can walk to the park, right? But I can drive a couple minutes any which way and there's a park there. And to enjoy, I like enjoying my family time, taking walks in the evenings and just having sometimes alone time, just walking by myself and going to the park and shooting basketball for an hour or so and getting some exercise in. And I think that's probably the most, just the recreational stuff.
Thank you.
Madam City Board, I represent Council District 4. Can you tell us tonight what, if anything, you would like to see improved in Inglewood regarding the board that you applied for?
When I moved here, everyone told me like, don't drink the water, like it's too gross. It tastes like dirt. It tastes like dirt and whatnot. And I mean, it's partially true, but like I get it. The standards are. I mean, I came from California where the standards are so like strict, and so everything's part per million. Like this can't be, and so just kind of looking at the science of things. Like we get our water from the Platte, so I get it. Like the Platte's not the cleanest, so it takes a little bit more to clean the water. So that's pretty much it. Like people just warning me about the water, and well, if I can do something, help, whatever I can do.
Thank you.
Hi, it's nice to meet you. I'm Chelsea Niedekamp, the District 2 representative on City Council. Thank you for applying and for being here tonight. I've got a couple questions. One, regular attendance and engagement at our board and commission meetings is mandatory. Do you have any concern about your ability to attend meetings if you were appointed?
No, at all.
Okay, wonderful. And second, how do you think your service on this board might benefit you as an Inglewood citizen, either personally or professionally?
I'm really big on networking, meeting people, and just getting to know everybody around me, almost to a fault. Where my wife is very introverted and I'm not, and she's like, "Let's go. You talk to enough people." But I like meeting people and I like learning about them, and I help a lot of people as much as I can whenever I can. So again, to a fault. And so I enjoy it though. Like, I love helping people. So.
Thank you so much.
All right, I think we have just under 3 minutes left. Do you have any questions for us?
No, I think I'm pretty read up on everything and pretty well informed. So.
Perfect. Well, Isaac, we'll finish tonight with interviews. We have another night of interviews tomorrow night. We'll briefly deliberate possible placement tomorrow night, but we'll make a final decision next Tuesday night. Okay. At that point, somebody from city staff will reach out to you on Wednesday about possible placement. And so if you were to sit on the Water and Sewer Board, actually, I should ask that. Are you open to any other boards within the city? For some reason, there's a lot of interest in the Water and Sewer Board this time around. So I just found it interesting. But anything else that you might be interested in serving in, or?
I pretty much, it popped up on my feed about the Water and Sewer Board, so I didn't really dive into any of the other ones.
Okay.
Just water being my passion.
Yep. Okay.
Right up my alley. So.
No, sounds good. We'll make final decision next week, and then your first meeting will be in February if you were to place. But Isaac, it was great to meet you. Thank you very much for your willingness to serve and for coming tonight.
All right, thank you guys.
Yeah, have a great evening.
You as well.
I think we're gonna take a break now. I think I see Joel out there. But we'll take a.
We can do one more. Because we only have a 10-minute break scheduled until 7, right?
We have Joel here, but he's the 7:10.
Yeah, I was wondering, should we just get Joel out of the way so he could go home and.
I would. And then
Let's take-
Especially since we kind of know him.
That'll give us an extra break if.
Oh, I would, wouldn't it?
Right, or we might be able to go home earlier.
Yeah, we can get ahead.
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
I don't mind. I mean.
Yeah,
I'd rather that's fine.
Joel? Yeah, if you could bring Joel in, yeah, he's ready. I'm happy there's an open seat, an alternate seat for water and sewer.
No, it's still gonna be really hard.
Yeah. Hey!
How's it going?
Good to see you again, Joel.
Yes,
How you doing this evening?
doing great. Thanks for squeezing me in.
No, thanks for coming
I know
early,
you'll
man.
get to definitely take a break,
Yeah.
so take it.
Well, Joel, thanks for making it tonight. I think you know who I am, but I'm on campus here as well as council member for District 1. Joel, we're going to be asking you 7 questions. You have 10 minutes to answer those questions. If there's any time remaining at the end, you're able to ask any questions of us. So, and I'm going to ask the first question. We're just going to go to my left.
Sounds good.
But ready to begin?
Perfect.
All right, so Joel, my question for you is what motivates you to apply for an Inglewood board at this time?
Sure. Well, I had been involved a long while back. Served actually on the Budget Advisory Committee with Steve and Chelsea over here back, probably 5 years ago at this point. But took a step away after some family issues back home, so I was spending more time back in Mississippi with my family, and I've been looking for a way to get re-engaged with the city. I missed the round of applications last time, but was happy to see it when it came back up this time. There were a number of things that I could have applied for, but I felt a personal draw to the library piece of it. So looking forward to engaging on that.
Sounds great. Thanks, Joel.
Hi, Joel. Joe Anderson, District 3. Good to see you again.
Good to see you.
My question for you tonight is, what would you bring to the library board that bring a benefit to Inglewood through your service?
Sure. Part of my background, I got an MFA in writing. That was where I came from when I moved out here. And so the creative arts and literacy and that sort of is a big draw to the library personally. Beyond that, I have also the MPA in Master of Public Administration, so I have a little bit of that background as well that could contribute. But I guess I believe very strongly in, with a 3-year-old, we're here every weekend. So I believe very strongly in the services that the library provides. They do a great job with the kids and events, all the way through the young ones to the seniors, active adults, and different types of learners and job seekers, that sort of thing. So I really believe very strongly in that piece of it. And so looking forward to my background to support that.
Very good, thank you.
Hi, Joel.
Hey, Rita, how are you?
Pretty good. It's good to see you again.
Good to see you.
So my question for you tonight is, please describe an experience in the past during which you worked in a group of people with diverse and sometimes opposing views and perspectives.
Sure. Well, before I started my current job with Education Commission of the States, I worked actually for the state legislature for 11 years. We were in the nonpartisan bill drafting office, but part of my role there was to take a lot of disparate voices and sort of synthesize those into what the actual language of the bill would be. So there was a lot of consensus finding and finding where people's, true hopes, where, finding where we could find common ground amid all of that. So I do have that experience from the legislature, absolutely.
Well, that's great. At least you didn't have it in the Budget Advisory Committee.
We did pretty good.
Yeah, we did.
Good evening. I have a question I think you'll enjoy answering. What is your favorite thing about Inglewood?
Oh, gosh. Well, I always brag on our parks wherever I go. I'm really, really proud of those. And I'm so happy that our bond passed. I look forward to seeing those. As I mentioned, we are a big fan of the library system and also our parks. So I know that they do a lot with events that people from all over the metro area take part in. And so it's a great piece of pride for the city. And I am always happy to boost those and be a big promoter of that. Yeah.
Always good to see you, Joel.
Good to see you.
What, if anything, would you like to see improved about the boards or commissions that you applied for?
About the boards themselves?
Yes, that's the question, regarding the boards or commissions that you applied for.
He's just reading the question. He's just reading it.
No, sure. I honestly appreciate that there are as many as there are. I don't know if there's appetite for or enough qualified applicants to have even more voices on the board, or if that would be helpful or not in the end. But I very much appreciate that it's even an option. What would I like to see improved? I don't know. 7:10 is late. I'm almost in bed.
Library.
Okay, the library in general. I mean, I think, I know that there are a variety of reasons for it, but a personal wish of mine is for the Fountainside entrance to be reopened.
I know that there's a lot of complicating factors for that, but I think that it would be a huge boost, aesthetically for the space and making it a much more welcoming environment for families and all sorts of users.
I'm sorry, what was that answer, Joel?
The reopening the fountainside entrance for the
Oh, okay,
library. Yep.
Hello,
Yep.
I'm next. Good to see you.
Hi.
Regular attendance is required.
Yes.
Concerns about attending the meeting?
No, I travel once a month for work generally, but it's I'm forgetting which day this one is.
Thursdays.
Third Thursdays. I'm usually back home on Thursdays, so that's fine.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And then my last one is, if you were appointed, how would this benefit you personally?
I would just be, it would be fun to get engaged with the strategic planning process. I think that it's really cool where that is in motion right now. Love to see how the community's voices come out on that. I'm really interested in, synthesizing that and making sure that everybody's priorities are as aligned as much as possible. I think that would be a really interesting piece of it. On a family front, it'd be kind of cool to tell Alma that I help out with the library. So that'd be fun too.
Great.
So Joel, we have about 3.5 minutes left. Do you have any questions for us?
No, not really. I've got I feel like a relatively good grasp on it, but I did look at the, maybe shouldn't have, but the other folks who applied, and I know you've got a couple of really good candidates for this thing. So I do want to say, if there's another place where y'all in your wisdom feel that I'd be helpful, happy to do it. Honestly, kind of prefer that not be budget. That's not where my heart lies at the moment, but I am open to other conversations if that's helpful for you.
Perfect. No, I appreciate you. Yeah, thanks for answering that for me. It's a question, but anything else, Joel?
No, thanks for being here. Thanks for y'all's part.
Yeah, it's always good to see your name, Joel. Thank you very much for your willingness
Good
to
to
serve,
see
and thank you for making the time this evening. And we'll be
Absolutely.
back in touch soon. So yeah, well, final placement will happen next Tuesday night. You'll get a call from the clerk's office, probably with this.
Great, sounds good.
All right,
I
Joel,
appreciate
thank you so much.
Thanks,
Thank
y'all.
you. Have a good evening.
Yeah.
I need to email you about some bushes. All right.
Oh, we still have 3 minutes. I mean, like.
Every bush coming. It's re-election time, everything's getting done real fast.
Yeah. That's
Be good on fun.
all right, are we good? I see another moving outside, but I think we're gonna take our break now.
All right.
Want to get dinner?
Get into the bathroom.
That's why I love that one question.
That answer that everybody has about like Inglewood's agenda has not changed.
Well, it hasn't.
I moved into Inglewood.
It hasn't changed, but you wonder how much more can we change before they realize that it's not a small town anymore.
But the people who are moving here in the last year or two, it still feels like a small town.
Right.
Right,
That's,
well-
so we're getting something right.
Like,
because
it's not
we're
so much
maintaining
about like the
the
practical, it's the feel.
Right, and the truth is, a lot of them are coming from much bigger cities than us. So,
Well, the fact that they can reach council members and
Yes.
council members personally assist them, that's a small town.
right,
Yeah.
yes, that's true.
You see us in the grocery store or the
Yes.
brand. I agree.
I generally send my husband to the grocery store if it's dinner time.
My kids won't come with me to the grocery store most of the time anymore.
One of my favorite council stories is, I think that if you have to go to the grocery store on Thanksgiving, it's a real walk of shame. Because either you messed something up or you forgot something. And I had to go to the grocery store on Thanksgiving a couple of years ago, and it was right after the recall. Stuff was really tense. And I went in my pajama pants. I had to go get 1 can of cherries for pie. I put on my winter coat, put on my boots. I'm like, I'm in and I'm out. And there was a constituent who wanted to talk to me about the housing stuff. And I was like, my guy, this is not it. This is not the moment. But I was like, of course this would happen on Thanksgiving morning in my pajamas.
When I lived in my city, I wouldn't go to Walmart or the casino. We had a casino that was 3 miles away.
Oh. Yeah, that seems like a bad idea.
No, people
did not like the city attorney at Walmart or the casino.
That sounds right. That sounds right.
Do we pause the recorder or is it still on? Are we still rolling?
I think it's still rolling. I haven't paused it. I don't know if anybody did when I. Have you ever sat in on one of these?
I have.
When was that?
I think I did first, well, Sergio has only been in my office, he moved up in 2023, I think. So, I was here, but we had always done them on Teams when I covered them.
This is really, I like this.
Yeah, it's always cool to see positivity.
And so many people that want to
Yeah.
contribute to positivity here. It's amazing.
Well, what's amazing is how many people, I think this is the most applicants we've ever had for the library.
When I remember we did those code changes because nobody was applying for board.
Mm.
And I don't know what happened, but that's changed.
Yeah, the
So we
transition
never
from
had to reduce any board members.
Right.
public sector bureaucrat to
Yeah, we were having trouble with that
private
before.
sector.
And the library board was one of them.
Yeah.
Okay. There must not be any VAC openings this time.
I'm kind of wondering, I'm like,
Weird.
well, yeah, I almost want Jackie to go back to the room and just verify that.
Because Suzanne rolled off, did we already fill her spot?
Yeah, but there was one, I think there was, Rita would know. I thought we promoted one from alternate, but
From BAC?
yeah,
Last time? Or just from show up?
recently, but I can't remember who.
Jackie sent me the rosters. Let's see, we've got Bill Lesage is the chair
Mhm.
through July.
Yep.
Then Peter through 27.
Mhm.
Jay Knight, term expires in July.
Mhm.
So we'll have 2 openings in our summer round. Nevin Mandel
Yep, Nevin.
expires in 27. James Horan in 26. Alternate Laura Cooper expires in 26.
You disappointed.
Yeah.
July.
I forgot all that.
So unless someone's resigned recently, the 2 openings will be in the summer.
What's that one for?
Budget advisory.
Okay. Do you actually get work done while you're sitting here?
I'm really enjoying listening.
Oh, you're listening.
But I also did just issue an ethics opinion. So I keep stopping and listening because it's so heartwarming.
It is.
This is like the most inspiring night, I think, in each 6 months, because it's just like, oh, people love the city so much.
Well, I see why you don't want to go to a single annual round of interviews.
I know.
We could do this every 6 months.
Right.
I understand.
It's always like so many new people too, who are just like, oh, I love it so much and I don't care.
It's really cool that they want to get involved.
Yeah.
Was here, what, July? That's what she said? She about
I don't want this year.
She wants to, yeah. This is where we're ready to get engaged. Cool.
Totally. Time, talent, and treasure.
I'm kind of wondering why so many applicants for water and sewer and library. I don't know.
You're wondering that, really?
I have a theory.
What do you think it is?
Bills.
You think so?
For library, I think it's, we're talking about the strategic plan so much. We've been like talking about it in social media, like we're doing big things for the library and what do you want to see? I think it's just like more top of mind. You know, same thing with Parks and Rec, it's like right after the bond. I think when we have a big conversation, people are like, oh, I'd love to be involved. Amy, the woman with the realtor, she's your neighbor too, isn't she? She's the one that you drank her water, right?
Yeah.
I remember that.
And she said I was the first person to actually take a sip of her water. But she made it seem like it was like terrible water. And I was like, I gotta see this.
But she's at like the end of a thing, right?
Yeah, and her water caps at Yale. So it just keeps
She doesn't have
flowing
a
back,
good
there's no way to
circulation, everyone
circulate it,
else.
yeah. But anyway, so apparently I got her water like on her best day. But
Always
yeah,
happens.
but I learned something new during that whole process about how she's got no circulation on her. There's other parts of that neighborhood that don't circulate.
Yeah.
It's really weird to me. Oh, I can't wait till Jim shows up.
Are we actually gonna ask him the questions?
Is he still on Parks and Rec?
No, he's not on any board.
Because he couldn't be
He couldn't be,
appointed after.
yeah.
For some reason I thought we appointed him already afterwards, but it actually we didn't.
No, that, we had that year rule.
Yeah. Ready here.
I think so.
Amy will be your next one, and I'll bring her back.
Amy Moore, was it?
Brown.
Brown. Amy Brown, Election Commission. Seward. Good evening, Amy.
Hello,
How you doing?
I'm doing well. How is everyone?
Doing well. Thanks for making time for us, Amy.
Of course.
Gotta get my timer set here.
Thanks for making time for me.
Of course. So Amy, my name is Othaniel Sierra. I am council member of District 1 as well as mayor of the city. Amy, we're going to ask you 7 questions tonight. You'll have 10 minutes to answer those questions. If there's any time remaining at the end of those 7 questions, then you're free to ask any questions of us. So are you ready to begin?
Yes.
All right, perfect. All right, Amy, so my first question for you is, what motivates you to apply for an Inglewood board at this time?
Yes, so I took some notes. So apologize, this is
No worries,
me
go ahead.
looking at my notes. So what motivated me to come in were a few different things. One, I purchased a home in District 3. 2, I was really enjoying my bicycle trips down to downtown Inglewood and listening to live music at Pizzability. That became my new favorite thing. I really like the quirky culture of the downtown area, and I want to be a part of its growth.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
Good evening, Amy. I'm Joe Anderson, District 3 council member. My question for you tonight is, what would you bring to the board and commissions you applied for, which looks like is water and sewer or the election commission, and how would Inglewood benefit through your service?
Yeah, so I have to admit, I looked at the interviews from 7 months ago, so I've taken notes to prepare myself.
Totally acceptable.
As for knowledge, my academic background's a bit rusty, so I have a bachelor's in government with political science, and then I have graduate studies in education, so 2 years of that, learning and being trained to design curriculum. In terms of my skill set, I have like a broad range of skills, I would say. I have sales, customer service, operations, and I think ultimately all of those kind of culminate into what I would say is like my most favorable ability is interpersonal skills and specifically treating people with dignity.
Good evening, Amy. I'm Rita Russell. I'm an at-large council member. Good to have you here this evening. My question for you is, please describe an experience in the past during which you worked in a group of people with diverse and sometimes opposing views and perspectives?
Yes, so currently I work as a professional management liability underwriter, and many of my brokers have JD, and so they're fully prepared to be attorneys, and they like to practice that on me when I'm underwriting for public and, but right now, private companies only. So more specifically, directors and officers in insurance. And so there's a lot of discussion behind, the good governance in that regard, because essentially that's what we're ensuring for directors and officers insurance.
Okay, great, thank you.
Good evening, Amy. I'm Tina Prang. I'm also an at-large council member. What do you like most about Inglewood? What do I like most about Inglewood? Okay. So first and foremost, Brave Church Inglewood. I have a strong fellowship there, and so that would be my first. Second, I love how Inglewood has its own identity. So it's not an extension of Denver by any means. It has kind of a small town feel. And I see that in just even the events calendar. So like kickoff barbecues and there's the neighborhood block party in August, and all of those things like get you really excited to be a part of that community.
I'm Steve Ward, I represent Council District 4. Can you tell us what, if anything, you'd like to see improved regarding the boards or commissions that you applied to?
Well, I did view the December 10th meeting. I wouldn't say, effectively anything structural about the board and commission, but it looked like there may be some support needed surrounding the billing software and some challenges with that. And so I think in lending my skill set to that, I think, in a lot of ways, people just really need to be heard and feel like they're getting compassion when there's something confusing or really difficult happening, especially when it comes to spending their money in a community that has, a larger group of elderly persons.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Chelsea Camp, District 2 representative. A couple questions for you tonight. Regular attendance and engagement on our boards and commissions is important and required. Do you have any concerns about your ability to attend the scheduled meetings?
I do not.
Okay, cool. And how will your service on this board and commission benefit you as an Inglewood resident, personally or professionally?
Yes, so professionally, I think what would be great about this and what I've done previously is it changes the perspective. So as an underwriter, a lot of times I'm on the outside looking in, meticulously judging financial statements and governance of the company. So being in the hot seat a little bit interests me in that way. And then personally, I think it's really important to be involved in your community. And I've always said, however short-sighted I might be, that jury duty should not be the only thing that people should be sort of put their thumb on to participate in, and more public service participation should almost be a requirement.
That's great, thank you.
Thanks.
Amy, we have a little bit over 4 minutes left. Do you have any questions for us?
With regard to the water and sewer board of commissions, is there any, outside of the new sort of billing issues that are occurring, is there anywhere where you feel like some skills might be most utilized in that specific commission that I have that you've heard in the last 6 minutes?
Steve, you're also on that board, right?
Yeah. I mean, the role of the board itself is more of a governance role rather than like a direct leadership type of role. While we do discuss policy to a certain extent, a lot of that policy is set by staff, and what we're doing is acting as a body that reviews certain decisions and kind of makes a determination if they're on a completely wrong path. But I don't think I've seen a single no vote in my tenure over the past year in the Water and Sewer Board.
Great.
Actually, there have been some no votes in the last couple months.
I mean, the board hasn't voted anything down.
No, the board itself hasn't.
Yeah.
voted anything.
That's
Is that what you meant? Okay.
yes. Yeah, that is my meaning.
That's just agreeing to disagree. That's why that question is important. too. So, but I agree with Councilmember Ward, it's mostly about policy and governance direction. I think there probably have been more people coming in to the recent meetings because of the billing issue,
I see.
so.
So it's a sort of, that's like an indirect involvement that's bringing people in.
Right.
I see. I did have one other question that is just out of curiosity. For the seat that I'm applying for, is there an average turnover for, attendance, like how long people stay or expected to stay? Is there an average time frame that you see people coming and going?
No, I think, I'm trying to think if there's, no, so it, obviously, there will be a set term on this one. I can't think if it's
I think
4 years or 4 years.
Isn't it, it's 4? I thought it was, isn't it 6?
Is it 6?
This one is probably the
Yeah.
longest one. And they're generally, the Water and Sewer Board is the one that people most want to.
Yeah,
2031, so 6 years.
2031 to
Yeah.
6 years.
6 years.
I
And
hope you're planning on being around for a while.
I definitely am, that's why I'm here.
yeah, and there's been some long-serving members as part of the board. And so I don't think there's an expectation that you need to serve, for a certain amount of time on this board. But obviously, yeah, it's one of the boards that does have like some longer-serving members. And so, I know that we're asking, this is a volunteer position, so life takes a precedence for a lot of people. People just aren't able to make the meetings and decide to vacate their seat. And that's perfectly okay, but it's just, for the boards themselves, there's no expectations. If you do decide, it was one of the questions, if you volunteer for this board, we are expecting, regular attendance as part of the meeting. But yeah, we know life happens, so.
Of course.
So can I ask a question?
Sure.
So you put down election commission also.
Yeah.
And I mean, that doesn't meet all the time necessarily, but is there a reason that you're interested in serving on that board?
I hadn't researched that as much as water and sewer. I think I was just going through another committee that I qualified for, and just in the sense of elections, it felt like that would be also a good way for me to meet everybody as like almost an introductory to this type of service, more than anything.
Absolutely. I mean, there is another board that just getting involved and meeting people is the Code Enforcement Advisory Committee.
Okay.
And there are a couple openings there. Is that something you might be interested in?
I mean, ultimately, I'm really just interested in getting like my foot in the door and understanding how things work. And I think you could really only do that experientially. So
Yep.
yeah,
Right.
I would be interested in participating in alternate boards as well.
Okay.
So I'll just ask this question, Amy, are there any nights that you're not able to?
That's a great question in consideration of the election committee. So
Election meets what, Tuesday? Quarterly?
quarterly on, is it the first Tuesday?
Oh, it's just meets that's required by election schedule, so.
Okay.
Different schedule. And Code Enforcement Advisory meets on Wednesdays.
They meet on Wednesday, the
Third
third Wednesday of the
Wednesday.
month.
Third Wednesdays of the month. I could do that. That's regularly like my Bible study, but I spend enough time there that in the Bible that I can work around another obligation.
Okay.
Well, perfect. Amy, well, it was great to meet you. Thank you very much for making time for us tonight. We're going to be deliberating tonight. Well, we're going to go through interviews tonight, and tomorrow night we'll deliberate. Tomorrow evening, we'll make final decision a week from Tuesday.
Okay.
So next week, and then at that point, somebody from city staff will reach out to you on Wednesday. If you do get assigned to a board, your first meeting will be in February.
Terrific.
But Amy, it was great to meet you. Thank you very much for your willingness to serve.
Thank you. Thank you all for your time.
Have a good evening.
Good evening. Stay warm.
I know. I've got my gloves, got everything. And this weekend I hear is supposed to get sub-zero
Yeah.
from,
This
so.
is fun. We already talked about it.
Yeah, that was a joy, but it's while we have it.
Right.
Have a good night. Thank you. Got Rebecca here.
Good evening, Rebecca.
Hey, how is everybody?
Well, it's good to see you.
everybody had a great holiday, nice New Year's.
Very good. You? How was yours, Rebecca?
It was nice, quiet, and uneventful.
There you go.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
That is a good quality holiday season.
Well, Rebecca, you know my name. It's good to see you again. So, Rebecca, we're going to be asking you 7 questions tonight. You have 10 minutes to answer those questions. If there's any time remaining, then you can ask any questions of us. And I'll ask the first question, and then we're just going to go to my left in terms of the 7 questions. So, are you ready to begin?
Yeah, I have one quick question before we begin. The application, I don't know if you guys see my application that was submitted, if that's in front of you. I originally applied for the EDBA. So if my answers to the questions don't seem to correlate to the Valley Center Trust Fund, that's why, because I applied for the EDBA.
Oh, okay.
And my application was denied because they said I lived outside of the medical district.
Okay.
Which I don't, but.
Yeah, I was going to ask. Okay, so we'll take
We went back and forth and back
Okay,
and
cool.
forth.
Well, good to know. So EDBA
So I
as
cried
well.
uncle and they asked if there was another board that I would like to put my application forward. And
Very cool.
yeah, so if it seems weird, that's why I was
Okay.
applying for the going downtown development.
No worries, Rebecca. Well, thank you very much for that. So I'll just ask my first question, and I guess what motivates you to apply for an Inglewood board at this time?
I saw the selection of the positions that were coming up, and you know me, I like civic involvement. I've been involved with, well, I've lived here nearly all my life. I was on the Parks and Rec Commission years ago. I have co-chaired a mill levy for the schools. I participated and ran a foundation for stringed instruments in the schools. I've sat on dozens of citizen committees for different projects having to do with the education and other initiatives in the city for over the years. So I saw the list come up and I thought I would take the opportunity to get more involved.
So great. Thank you, Rebecca.
Hi, Rebecca. Joe Anderson.
Hey, Joe.
Good to see you again. What would you bring to the Valley Center Trust Fund that would benefit the city through your service?
I think it would be really interesting to be on the trust fund and be more involved with that. I have 35 plus years experience in financial services. I've been a federal, state, and industry regulator. I've run massive teams across the United States and internationally. And so I think with the financial services background and a degree in accounting, I could bring a sense of accountability and fiscal responsibility. And just the other part of it is a third of the individuals in Inglewood now, I understand, to be over the age of 50. And you have to be 55 or older for this position. I do qualify. And yeah, I just like to bring forward the voice because I know a lot of people might fall into my demographic and I'd like to be able to be a voice for them.
Thank you.
Good evening, Rebecca.
Hi,
I'm
Rita.
Rita Russell. I'm one of the at-large council members. My question for you is, please describe an experience in the past during which you worked in a group of people with diverse and sometimes opposing views and perspectives.
Wow, my career for the most part has been that of a position of opposition, having been a state and federal regulator, working for the Division of Securities when we would perform audits on investment advisors and broker dealers. We did it unannounced. So we would show up in the lobby, introduce ourselves, and begin an audit. So yeah, getting the firm to comply sometimes was initially a challenge, but we had authority to close the business down. So ultimately, and then I worked for FINRA for the D3 office here in Denver for this region, and managed one of the teams that did the national exam program for FINRA. So we would quite often be in broker dealers and we're not well appreciated for our regulatory oversight. So yeah, most of my career has been in a position of opposition, but it's the skills of finding common ground and courtesy and collaborative measures, especially when, like I said, doing an audit, you work with the firm based on what they can provide and the information that you need. So it's a collaborative process.
Okay, thank you so much.
You bet.
Good evening, Rebecca. Good to see you.
Hi, Dina.
I have a fun question.
Okay.
What do you like most about Inglewood?
The sense of community. Having been here for as long as I have, before we put medians in on Broadway, we had a holiday parade that went down the Broadway, and we'd ride the fire trucks for the volunteer fire department. And, a lot of just the things that the businesses that are here, the people, the sense of being a small town. My dad always described it as, we had nowhere to go because we were 30,000 people landlocked by other cities. So, but I'm fourth generation in Inglewood. And so just about everywhere I go, I run into somebody that I know. My son works for the post office. We've just been deeply ingrained in the city for years.
Thank you.
Tell us what, if anything, you would like to see improved about the boards or commissions that you applied for.
Boards or commissions, I would be new to the Trust Center board. I think that Inglewood could do a better job of citizen outreach. I understand that there's a lot of publications, like the winter, fall, spring, and summer catalog that comes out. I don't get one at my house for some reason. I need to call and have myself re-added to that. But we used to put up notices to changes in public code, and there would be things that would come through the mail or people knocking on doors. There just seemed to be a better, before things became so technology oriented, there was a better flow of information. So in the city, you really have to take an active position to become informed. I don't think it feeds as easily as it used to.
Thank you.
I want you to know I just sent an email to the city manager with your address, so you can make sure you get your tag. Take care of that.
My neighbor brings it down to me after he reads it every
You have your
time.
own. We will make sure we get you one. I've got a couple questions.
Okay.
Regular attendance and engagement or boards and commission meetings is required. Do you have any concern about attending the regular city meetings?
No, I have the time to be able to do that. So.
And how might a service on this board benefit you as an Inglewood citizen, either professionally or personally?
Personally, it would just be civic engagement and being able to take part in activities. Just, personally, that's a feel good. It's an opportunity to serve back the city that I live in. And then professionally, not really. I'm semi-retired at this point, so I'm not looking to put anything on a CV or a notch on my belt or anything like that. I have the time to give back at this point after a long and busy career, so I want to take that time and give back to the city.
Rebecca, we have just under 3 minutes. Any questions for us?
I don't think so. I spent some time reviewing some of the meetings and everything that went on. I know a number of the members already on the board, and I have a membership down at the Malley Center, so I'm familiar with that.
So Malley, EDDA, and did you say that you emailed Sean about the address or?
No, I emailed them about for the magazine.
Oh, the magazine, okay. So I'm gonna look into that. It looks like you're just off a block from Old Hampton, so.
Yeah, the original documents when they expanded to the medical center or the medical district, the boundaries were East Bend to Kenyon and Lafayette to Santa Fe. And they kept sending me maps that said I was outside of the boundaries, but there were no boundaries on the maps they were sending. So we had correspondence.
So we'll be able to verify that before
Yeah.
we make a final determination of placement. Well, we'll deliberate tomorrow night, but final placement will be Tuesday.
Okay.
So we'll get that. We'll know for sure, Rebecca, before that, so.
Being a resident in that area of the city, and Inglewood has said for 30 years that they were going to redo Hampton. It's been on the agenda for 30 years. I've lived in that house for 33. And the businesses are there, and I would love to have more businesses come in, especially small restaurants and stuff. But there isn't representation of the residents and we're the ones that live there. And I'd really like to be able, I've been very active with the engineering department on discussions with this, so I'd love to have an active voice. That's
Yeah.
what threw me into all of this in the first place.
No, Rebecca, that's a good question, because I know like some of the apartments right by King Supers here, they're part of the EDDA boundary, but I'm just not as sure east of that.
They could
right?
be the amount that cut it out. The originating documents gave those boundaries from Eastman to Kenyon,
Okay,
and
cool.
I'm within that,
Well, if
so.
that's the case, that you are. Cool. Well, let's see here. There's 45 seconds. Anything else?
No, I just thank you for putting in the extra time in the interviews.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and Rebecca, thank you very much for your willingness to serve. We're, like I stated, we're going to deliberate again tomorrow night as well, and then make final placement next week.
Okay.
Sometime Wednesday or so next week, city clerk will let you know, and then your first meeting would be February.
Yes.
If you were to get placed. So, Rebecca, thank you very much. It's good to see you.
Thank you. Good to see you all.
Yeah.
Thanks, have a good night.
Have a good evening.
Stay warm. Yes. It's supposed to be really cold next week, so.
That question, Tamara, in terms of the boundaries for EDDA, did you already email Jack or no?
No,
I was just wondering,
you were doing it.
I was gonna do it, but I was just kind of
I
curious.
just looked at the DDA map on the website.
You did?
She is outside of it.
No sign of our next one quite yet.
That's Andrew?
He's got time.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'll let you know who shows up.
All right, cool.
The boundaries zig and zag all over the place. It's not as simple as just between these two.
But if she's on Lafayette, on the west side of the street, I think that is in the boundaries.
It's north, north of, looks like she's north of
She's just
Gerard.
south, she's north of Gerard, south of Floyd.
She's north, I think, of Old Hampton, just
Yeah.
behind where Bullock's
Yeah,
mortuary
exactly, yeah.
was, right there.
She is
So
right there.
I think that could be on the map, because she lives on the west side of the street.
Her address shows up as north of Gerard, not north of Old Hampton, so.
No, I don't think she lives north of Gerard. I think she lives between Old Hampton and.
In Gerard?
Yeah,
Yes.
her address shows it between the two, between Gerard.
Between Gerard and Hampton, oh, well, okay, I put 33, 36.
Yeah, no, we're saying the same thing.
Oh,
North of Gerard, south of Floyd.
north of Gerard, south of Floyd, yeah. That's where her address is, yeah. So she's outside of the boundary, if that's accurate.
I think it
For
is.
address.
I've been there.
I think it is.
Did look up the weather though. Low is -12 on Monday.
They said it's gonna get colder than that, but
And I-
right now they're still playing it conservative.
You know, I'm still
gonna
gonna
do
go
the
next
parade.
week and I'm
Huh?
going to Mexico.
parade.
So I don't think
You won't have to worry about.
The parade for MLK Day downtown.
Oh,
March.
I know.
It's not fair to tell us that.
Some additive in my diesel. Cold already thinking about that.
The highs of Sunday is a balmy 5 degrees. Warms up on Monday though a little bit. High of 20.
Oh, heat wave.
It's gonna be a hard one this year. Lots of people.
All right, ask them the question. All right, so. Isn't Andrew already on a board or no?
What's that?
Andrew Forlines, the next person that's supposed to speak? We met him before, didn't we, or no?
I feel like we have.
Yeah.
And I think his partner is the other,
The
one
one
of
that
our other
missed it.
no-shows
Yeah.
earlier. So hopefully they're all okay.
Yeah. Yeah, because I know I've met Andrew.
I want want to go home early, but I have a really snarly teenager at home right now, so I don't want to go home that early. Might have to find some errands on the way home.
How old is Maya?
What's that?
How old is Maya?
15. She is more pure teenager than any of my others. They knew how to play different roles or different games or present themselves differently. She just fully owns being a teenager and has no problem with just, yeah, I'm cranky today. It's kind of nice. At least what you see is what you get.
Yeah, she just gave you a warning. I've cranked it.
Right. Like if you could text me 10 minutes before you arrive at home, what your demeanor is upon arrival, that would be awesome.
So I'd just like to remind you, this too shall pass.
Yes, I hope so.
And you will hope for those days.
Yes. Also very true, yeah. Noah just recently moved out and I can remember having days of being like so frustrated with that kid. And now I really remember and appreciate like the difference of personality and balance that he brought to the house. He did find affordable housing in Englewood though, so.
Yay. That was just recently, right? That you were still
Yeah,
struggling
yeah,
with.
for $1,200 a month. It's tiny, itty bitty one bedroom, but it was good to hear and see that. And he's blocks away, so we can take care of each other's animals and do some of that good stuff still.
Yeah, it's really cool that Noah's like right there.
Yeah.
That far from.
Yeah, I was shared with him the information that he shared with me about those apartments.
Yeah.
So now he feels cooler. There's some sort of association.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I think our 8 o'clock person is here.
Well, there's someone here, so yeah. A lot more people this time around just picked 1 or 2 boards. And there's been people in the past that just picked just about everything. I'm wondering why that was too.
The water and sewer board, I think people are very familiar with water and sewer with all the building problems.
Well, like that, not just the billing problems, like that one person that interviewed, I heard when I came here, don't drink the water.
Yeah.
That has always been,
Yeah.
since I was little.
I think it's gotten a little bit better.
Yeah, the taste is better than, for a while, there was a fire, a shingle fire,
Oh, right.
and the water tasted bad forever.
Is that the one?
It was down by the Platte River.
Yeah. Jim told me that story. Jim and someone else told me that story.
Yeah, you have to live
Like
here a long time
76 or so, 78?
Yeah, 70, maybe early 80s.
Early 80s, yeah.
But there was some chlorine.
Hello, hello?
No sign of Andrew quite yet, but I got Jim Woodward here and Nicholas Nonis.
All right. I guess we'll talk to Jim.
I'll send him
So
over.
Jim, no Hillary then? Yeah?
Not quite yet either, no.
So Hillary goes at 7:40. Okay, yeah, let's have Jim, and then if Hillary shows up, then she'll be right on time. I don't know why, but I thought that Jim put his name in for Mally as well. Did he not?
they really did piecemeal the DDA in that area.
Is it there?
And she is not located in, according to the Arapahoe County map. I'm looking at the district right now.
Okay. Well, what's going on? Is Jim coming?
Chat probably.
Chatting.
Yeah, I was gonna say, nothing, Doug, yeah, now you finally got.
Yeah, what's the rush?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right on the border.
Members of council, if you can please take your seat. Members of council, if you can please take your seat.
It's time.
Some things never change.
Pardon me?
Some things never change.
No,
How you doing, Jim?
I'm doing well,
It's
thanks.
good to see you. Well, Jim, do we need to go through the rules here? Like 7 questions, 10 minutes, anytime remaining? You could ask any questions of us? No? We're good?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right, well, let's begin, Jim. So, Jim, just what motivates you to apply for an Inglewood board at this time?
At this time,
Yeah,
as
at this
opposed to last year when I did apply.
So that's how it's gonna be, huh, Jim?
Well, I want to be involved, at some level. I've been involved a long time, a lot of years, and I want to be involved here. I mean, with boards and commissions, if it's not council, it's not council and boards and commissions, at least it's boards and commissions. So I think they used my application from last year. I assume you got those.
Yeah, we got it.
And Parks and Rec Commission, I have a history going back to sometime in the mid to late 90s. And Water Board, as mayor 4 years, as mayor pro tem 4 years on that, 2 years this last time as council liaison. So those are the 2 big ones I want on, or would want on. I know Kristen Beard has applied for Parks and Rec, and highly recommend her. She was the chair for the citizen group for the bond issue, which I participated in. And so I've been involved with Parks and Recreation going back to Inglewood Soccer Association, which was the original soccer association. It started in 1983 in Inglewood. Totally a nonprofit, totally all about kids and just for kids. And I was asked to apply by the director, Parks and Recreation at the time, Gerald Black, and was on it up until 2011 when citizens couldn't be, or citizens could. Citizens, you couldn't be on it as a council member and a citizen member. And so I went off there until 2013 and then got back on and then went off again when I went off council, so the second time. But I've been involved in that, involved in the 2001 bond issue, this last bond issue. And so I feel real familiar with Parks and Recreation and Water Board.
I'll pass it to,
Yeah,
we all know.
Be kind of redundant, but what would you bring to these boards and commissions? And how would the city benefit from your service?
I think I bring a lot of experience, a lot of history, and citizen feedback, especially right now on the Water Board. I assume you're pretty much aware that there is not a real good feeling about the new billing system. Water Board?
We're aware.
We heard something about that.
You heard about that?
We heard a little something.
Yeah, and it's kind of gotten to the point where I really don't understand what the problem is here. If the contractor is that bad, we need to get rid of the contractor, because it probably won't get any better, would be my guess. But, you know, there's just things like not having the number of gallons of water, which we're all used to from our old ones, and could always kind of judge what was going on with our own water. A bar graph is real nice, but it doesn't tell you anything. Anybody can do a bar graph. So things like that, and I know, water law just fascinated me when I originally got on water board because it was so different from regular law. And, you know, the history of Inglewood's water, I've been involved with and know a bit about the rights and that sort of thing. So I think that's something that I can bring to the board as a citizen. It's kind of in the know on a lot of that. And I think as found out on console, when I asked about the 2 wells down at McClellan, the director looked at me and said, "What wells?" And I said, "The 2 wells across County Line Road, right from the reservoir." And he said, "I'll have to look into that. I know nothing about them." And he came back a couple weeks later and mentioned that, well, the pumps aren't working and they need to be replaced or repaired or something. But it was just like, you don't know anything about them. They're part of our water rights and they're, you know, the aquifer. So certain things like that, just
that knowledge.
from being around, living here almost 50 years now.
I'm gonna forego my question
I was gonna say, I
because
don't know if
we
we really-
already
yeah,
know
yeah.
that you've worked with a lot of diverse groups of people.
Yep.
So I'm gonna defer to, I'd like to hear his answer to Tina's question.
Okay.
Good evening. How are you, neighbor?
I'm very good.
Good. I'm so
That's
glad
right,
to
you guys do live next to each other.
I get to ask the fun stuff tonight. What do you like most about Inglewood?
Oh, that's the easy one. Well, and you probably hear this a lot, it's got that small town, hometown feel. And coming from a town in North Dakota that was about Inglewood's size, when I left there and when I came here, around 32,000 at that time. That town now has gotten a lot bigger because of oil and fracking and Air Force Base and that sort of thing. But it's just that feel. And I had lived in Denver for 7 years before I moved here. But Inglewood just felt right. It was just the right size, everything was right about it. So, I like the idea of being able to be involved and knowing some of your neighbors and certainly people in this building and just being real, it's just a homey place for me.
Thank you.
Good.
What improvements would you like to see on any of the boards that you applied for?
Parks and Recreation, we're doing the improvements. I mean, the improvements are all in the works. I think with the bond issue, I spend quite a bit of time, at least 2 to 3 days a week at Malley, and got to know a lot of people there as far as citizens and stuff. And I think the programming and stuff for Parks and Recreation is really good, in my opinion. At least it is for seniors. And I'm sure it's good for other citizens. And it was good for kids. When my son was young, and my grandson has gone through the whole swimming program, so he isn't as athletically inclined as my son was, but he's enjoyed it. And I enjoy our parks. I mean, I've been involved in a lot. Went through the purchase of Duncan back when.
We got 30 seconds, Joe.
Thanks.
Well, I know you'll come to all the meetings, so I'll just ask, if we appoint you, what would you benefit from serving again?
Being involved again and not working, having something to do in my life, you know, staying involved and being engaged, you know, seeing you folks once in a while.
I don't know about the benefit.
I haven't seen Tamara for quite a while.
So Jim, since this is last year's application, just those two boards, or were you open to any others?
I would be open to NERP. I think I served, I don't know how many years I served on that, but 7 years in there as a chair, I think. I'd also be Mally. I don't know, Tina, are you the council liaison to Mally
That's Kim.
from Parks and Rec?
Oh,
Parks and Rec you are, right?
I am Parks and Rec.
Yeah, I know you're
But
Parks and Rec, but
But not
usually
Mally.
they don't have anybody 55 or over, so I always do it. And
I'm not quite there yet, thank you.
Yeah,
So.
what do you insinuate?
Just wait a few
Oh,
years.
What are you doing?
yeah, I am kind of over there.
Well, Jim, it's good to see you. We have a night of interviews tomorrow night as well. We'll deliberate at the end of tomorrow evening. We'll make a final decision Tuesday since MLK Day is on Monday. So you'll hear from city staff sometime on Wednesday about final placement. Jim, it's always good to see you.
Yeah,
Thanks for
I have
applying.
one other suggestion.
No, your 10 minutes are up, Jim.
I know, I'm gonna do this on the way out.
That's what public.
Why don't we name the conference rooms here, Blue Sky on this one pointed toward Blue Sky or Mount Evans. The one over here for Public Works, that could be Mount Evans. The one on
Jim.
the east could be Aurora or.
All your years on council. And you're thinking that we have a say in how the conference rooms are
This is
named.
policy stuff. Okay.
We can pass a resolution.
I'm just gonna make that a council request.
Resolution changing the names of all the conference rooms.
Yeah, right.
I've got Hillary here.
Good evening, Hillary.
Hi.
How you doing?
Good, thank you.
It's good to see you. So let's see here. So Hillary, yeah, it's good to meet you. My name is Oak Daniels here. I'm council member for District 1 as well as mayor for the city. Hillary, we're going to be asking you 7 questions tonight. You have 10 minutes to answer those 7 questions.
Okay.
If there's any time remaining, you're free to ask us any questions that you may have. So are you ready to begin?
Sure.
All right. So Hillary, my first question for you is, what motivates you to apply for an Inglewood board at this time?
Well, I specifically am most interested in the Sustainability Commission,
Okay.
but I'm happy to be considered for any others. I've cared about the environment for as long as I can remember and have been really fortunate to be able to make that my career, and am excited to give back and invest in my community here. So I'm particularly interested in clean air and clean water issues, making sure we have really well-connected transit systems, and also that neighbors know each other, since that's a huge factor in climate resilience and how people fare when there's extreme weather events.
Thank you so much.
Hi Hillary, I'm Joe Anderson, District 3 Council Representative. My question for you tonight is, what would you bring to the board and commissions that you applied for the Sustainability Commission, and how would the city benefit through your service?
Well, like I mentioned, I work on sustainability issues for my career. So I specifically work on the intersection of food and agriculture and climate as a communications director. So I advocate for things like more money to go to farmers to adopt conservation practices. Where that intersects with or builds a skill set that would be useful for this commission is that I bring a deep wealth of information and knowledge about the types of issues that the Sustainability Commission works on. I also noted that I work in communications, so I spend my days doing things like producing content, reaching out to reporters. So I think that would also prepare me well to specifically be on the communications subcommittee for the Sustainability Commission.
Thank you.
Good evening, Hillary, and I'm Rita Russell. I'm one of the at-large council members. And my question for you is to please describe an experience in the past during which you worked in a group of people with diverse and sometimes opposing views and perspectives.
It's a really good question. So the organization that I work for is Environmental Defense Fund, and had relevant experiences to what you're asking, both within my organization and externally. So within the organization, we're matrixed, so I'm very often working with other teams or scientists or economists and bringing together different viewpoints internally into our external communications materials. And then externally, we pride ourselves on bridging the gap between environmentalists and agriculture, which there's a long history of distrust on both sides. So I've had a lot of experience in large and small forums, listening to farmers and finding common ground.
Great, thank you.
Good evening, Hillary. I'm Tina Prang. I'm also an at-large council member. What do you like most about Inglewood?
I love that question. Okay, a lot of things. So I'm coming up on 3 years living here. I really like the block party. I think that's really fun. I like that there's neighborhood nights. So I guess the summer concert series, so I guess programming to get people involved in their communities and meeting their neighbors and building those connections. I also think for a city of Englewood's size, it's doing some really cool things on sustainability. Like I was personally really impressed with have a sustainability report, have a sustainability coordinator. I'm blanking on her exact title. So, I mean, that's something that I have also been really impressed with.
Thank you.
I'm Steve Ward. I represent Council District 4, which I think is your council district.
Yes, it is mine.
What, if anything, would you like to see improved about the commission you applied for?
So one idea that I had related to communications and the Sustainability Commission would be to include more sustainability related questions in surveys that are already going out to residents. I think hearing from people about what environment or conservation issues are most important to them or most relevant to how their quality of life now or in the future would be really useful information to have. And related to the communications piece, I think including more sustainability updates in the email newsletters and the quarterly magazines, like the routine communications that are already going out, including more sustainability updates in there.
Awesome, thank you.
Hi, I'm Chelsea Newton-Cam, District 2 City Council member. I've got a couple questions for you. Regular attendance and engagement is required for our commissions. Do you have any concerns about attending scheduled meetings?
No.
And if you were to be appointed to the commission, how would that benefit you as an Inglewood resident, either personally or professionally?
I mean, personally, I've been looking for more ways to get involved in my community locally. I moved here from DC and had lots of involvement there, so I've been slowly building up my community and involvement here in Inglewood and Colorado. So that would be personally what would be useful for me. And then, professionally, I think was the other part of your question. So most of my day job is more at like federal or international environmental policy levels, and it's really rewarding for me and interesting, but I also want to affect change locally in my own community.
Great, thanks.
So Hillary, we have about 3.5 minutes left. Do you have any questions for us?
I do, yeah. So one question I had, and I don't know if it's fair for this group or if it would be a question for the commission itself, but the sustainability umbrella is quite broad. So how do they decide what to prioritize or what they're going to work on?
That is a good question. So they make a determination, the committee does decide what it is that they want to focus on. They do have subcommittees. They work obviously with our sustainability coordinator. I think that is her title, isn't it? Mills, yeah, Mel England's title. So they do talk about it as a group in terms of what it is that they're looking to prioritize. I know that they've looked at so many different things. I think they're looking at the tree ordinance now. They've looked at EVs and, some of the programs and grants that we've made available for sustainability practices. They've kind of tackled that. So really, it's just open-ended. I think it's just more about where their passion lies and what it is that they want to prioritize at a given time. So I think it falls under their umbrella.
They're also responsive to council direction,
There is,
strategic plan too, so it goes both ways, freedom, but also
falls within
direction as well, yeah.
Okay, so I have a follow-up question to that then. Are there things that you or anyone else are looking for the Sustainability Commission to do in 2025?
That's a good question because we have our strategic plan coming up at the end of the month. And so I've actually started thinking about what it is that I would like some of our boards to kind of considering what our strategic priorities are as a city. I don't have a direct answer regarding sustainability itself, but I am trying to figure out how can we involve our boards to take a look at what it is that we're prioritizing and provide a level of recommendation.
Okay, yeah, that's helpful.
And if there's anything else anybody else wants to jump in to provide an answer, but.
I would just say one of the common themes that has come up when we think about sustainability as a small city is what is our role versus the region's role, the state's role, the country's role, and what is the most high leverage things that we can do as a community but actually makes a difference if not everyone else is doing the same thing. And then how do we actually track real outcomes and ensure that we are putting resources and time and energy in the right direction? And when we are building, a new program, that can be challenging. And so thinking about what are the things that we should be spending time on, because otherwise you're just trying to do too much.
Still got about a minute.
Okay.
The mayor had a good example earlier tonight, which was the gas reclaiming at the sewage treatment plant.
Mm-hmm.
And this is kind of where I sit on this issue, arguably a little more to the right of some of my peers, but there's a nexus between environmental sustainability and economic sustainability.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
And I would like to be in the middle of that X as opposed to on one far side or the other of that X. So those are the areas where I would put that group's focus.
Yeah, I do a lot of methane gas recapture work from animal waste, but there is an economic case for it for sure. I guess the last question I had with the time remaining is, do the boards and commissions interact with each other? And the impetus for that question is, I can see a lot of intersections between sustainability and the transportation group or the water and sewer group. So is there any sort of interaction like that?
There is. I think the tree ordinance also made it back to, did it not make it back to code enforcement advisory as well?
It came through Parks and Rec.
It came from Parks and Rec, but code enforcement kind of had to weigh in as well, because that falls under kind of the code aspect of it as well. But there is sometimes, it probably should occur more often than it does, for the reasons that you stated, because ETAC or the transportation versus Parks and Rec, or some of them do kind of play a role side by side. It doesn't happen enough that they will at certain points.
I think another situation where they got involved was the electric scooters and electric bikes that code enforcement got involved with.
Because of mobility and and mobility, the mobility code or whatever that thing's called, so. Just drawing a blank right now. It's getting late, so.
I know you've had a lot of people
But-
cycle through.
No, so Hillary, thank you so much. So you are, actually, I have urban renewal here as well. Were there any other boards that you were interested in or just sustainability and URA?
I'm flexible, so I think sustainability best matches like
Yeah.
my skill set and knowledge base, but I mean,
Okay.
if you need people, places, I'm happy.
Perfect. Well, no, I really appreciate Hillary. I think we're good with sustainability in terms of, I don't think we have as many applicants there. But Hillary, thank you very much for making time for us tonight.
Thank you all so much.
We have another evening tomorrow of interviews.
Okay.
We'll deliberate a little bit tomorrow night, but final placement will occur next Tuesday night.
Okay.
You know, Wednesday, you'll probably hear from city staff. But it was great to meet you. Thank you very much for your willingness to serve and yeah. we'll
Thank
be
you
in
all so
touch.
much.
Thank you so much, Hillary.
Keep warm on your way home.
What, oh, I know. I'm glad I didn't have to shake your hands because they were.
Have a good night.
I think Jim is still out there. He is.
He is. He's holding up our next interview.
He's chatting with people.
He's holding up the next person.
Yeah.
Holding the fort.
There's so many people who've moved here from Washington DC.
I know, I was gonna say this.
Or are involved
Yeah.
in state politics, you know, state house somewhere.
I've got Nicholas here.
Hello, Nicholas. Good evening, sir. How you doing?
Good, thank you.
Thanks for joining us tonight. So Nicholas, my name is Othaniel Sierra. I'm council member for District 1 as well as mayor for the city. It's good to meet you. Nicholas, we're going to be asking you 7 questions tonight.
All right.
You'll have 10 minutes to answer those questions. If there's any time remaining, you're free to ask us any questions that you happen to have. So are you ready to begin?
Sure.
All right, Nicholas, so let me get my clock here. All right, my first question for you is what motivates you to apply for an Inglewood board at this time?
Well, I've been in medical practice in Englewood since the early 1970s and currently living in Englewood. So I've been the president of the HOA in our condo association. I'm coming to the end of that term. And I thought maybe I needed to look at something where I could contribute and be a resource. And I think the city of Englewood would be where I'd like to focus.
Sounds great. See if we can find a place for you. Thank you, Nicholas.
Good evening, Nicholas. I'm Joe Anderson, the District 3 Council Representative. My question for you tonight is what would you bring to the board and commission you've applied for, which looks like it's Water and Sewer Board, and how would Inglewood benefit from your service?
Well, I think my main strength is my medical background because I've worked in the environmental area. My practice involved allergy and immunology. And I was also on an environmental committee at the Colorado Medical Society for many years. One of our biggest projects was setting the standards for radon exposure. So I'm well acquainted with environment. And I always had to, the type of people I'd see were like the canary in the coal mine. They were reacting to things nobody else was reacting to at those levels. So that's how I first got involved with water and learning about water filtration and what people needed in their homes, and also water intrusions in homes. So that was a big part of my practice.
Very good. Thank you.
Good evening, Dr. Nonis, and I call you that because you have always been my doctor. And,
good to see you.
It's good to see you also. So my question for you is please describe an experience in the past during which you worked in a group of people with diverse and sometimes opposing views and perspectives. Didn't you have that problem with patients?
Are you referring to yourself, Rita? No.
A problem child.
Well, Rita, more problem with doctors because getting them to agree like herding cats sometimes. There's always disagreement about how to approach various problems. I've been on quite a few of the committees on Swedish, and I was on several of the committees at the Colorado Medical Society. A lot of diverse opinions there and a lot of different interests. So you had to bridge some of those gaps quite often and had to diplomatically find solutions.
Absolutely, and you're very diplomatic because you deal with patients that same way too.
Absolutely, absolutely. But I missed that part of the practice.
All right, thank you so much.
I'm going to take a note from her. Good evening, Dr. Nonis.
Okay.
I'm Tina Prang. I'm also an at-large council member. And my question for you is, what do you like most about Inglewood?
Well, I spent most of my career in Inglewood, so I've gotten very used to being here. I like how centrally located it is. You can get to just about any place very easily. There's good public transportation. I'm a retiree. There's medical care here. There's everything I think that retirees need in Inglewood. I'm very amazed at how much growth Inglewood has had. I was away during COVID. We got caught in New York during that first phase, and I stayed with my daughter, and they wouldn't let us leave until the immunizations came. In those 3 years, I was gone 3 years. Those 3 years I came back, I just about couldn't believe what had happened in Inglewood. The amount of growth and the progressiveness that has happened in Inglewood has been very exciting.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Steve Ward. I represent Council District 4. And my question for you tonight is, what, if anything, would you like to see improved about the Board of Commission that you applied for?
Well, we're in the era of nanotechnology, and it's going to be influenced by artificial intelligence. So we're going to learn about things that we don't even know are there right now. That's in the future. But when we find something, we don't know what impact it's going to have. The latest one has been the polyfluorinated alkyl substances, PFASs, that all of a sudden became a major issue, and how we're going to measure these, particularly since it's real hard to measure those small quantities. I think their detection limit is way, way below what we can detect in laboratories.
Sure is.
Right now. And, but we still don't have a good handle on the medical aspects of it. So one of the things I like to do is I do a lot of reading and I do a lot of research. I'm no longer practicing, so I do reading. And I like keeping up on what do we know about these things? Where is the research going? And to sort out the research, so maybe I could act in an advisory capacity for water and sewer, saying, is this something that you need to go into? What's the impact of this?
Thank you.
I'm Chelsea Camp. I'm the city councilman for District 2, your city council member. A couple questions for you. One, regular attendance and engagement at our board and commission meetings is required. Will you be able to attend the meetings that are scheduled?
Certainly. I'm retired, and as one of my friends said, he had 6 Saturdays and 1 Sunday in his schedule.
Sounds good.
So I'm pretty much free once I let the HOA presidency go. That's coming up here in the next few months.
Okay, wonderful. My second question is, if you were to be appointed, how would service on this board benefit you as an Inglewood citizen, either personally or professionally?
Sorry, I couldn't quite hear.
How would service on this board benefit you, either personally or professionally?
Well, this is a whole new learning experience. It's taking what I have experienced in the medical field and applying it to the general population, because I think you're dealing with some things that really have a lot of health impact. And that's of great interest to me. I missed practicing, but I didn't miss an administrative burden that was put on practices. So this in a way is another practice for me.
Well, thank you.
Well, Doctor, we have about a little bit over 3 minutes. Do you happen to have any questions for us?
No, I don't. This is an all new learning experience. I've been reading about the department online, and I think you got some exciting things going, particularly with your improvements. That's going to make some major changes with piping the ditch and reducing lead. I ran a lot of lead tests in my practice, and I was surprised how many people came out positive enough that some of them may need a treatment. And, you know, our main source for lead originally was paints.
Right.
And, but, you know, there may be other sources, and we really don't quite know yet how to deal with lead, medically speaking. So I think that's going to be an interesting project to follow. And then you're modernizing with, you know, going to the smart meters.
Right.
I mean, everything is smart these days, including the water you drink.
Some places smarter than others.
Well, Doctor, basically, so we have another night of interviews tomorrow night. We'll deliberate shortly thereafter about possible placement. We'll make a final decision a week from Tuesday, a week from tomorrow, I guess I should say. And then so you should hear from our city clerk's office sometime on Wednesday about final placement. So no further questions?
No, that's it.
Well, Doctor, thank you very much for coming and speaking. It's great to meet you. Love your perspective. I could probably listen to you for another half hour if you just sat here at the time.
Okay,
Thank you very much,
Good to
Doctor.
see
Have a
you
good
again.
evening.
Bye now. Nice to meet you.
So he was your physician?
He was my allergy doctor.
Okay, very cool.
He's an amazing man.
I've got Natalie here.
Hello, Natalie. Natalie. How you doing today?
Hi, good, thanks. A little tired, it's the end of the day.
Yeah, we got you late. So Natalie, thanks for making it so late. So.
Sorry.
Well, Natalie, my name is Othaniel Sear. I'm council member for District 1 as well as mayor for the city. Natalie, I'm going to be asking you, or we're going to be asking you 7 questions. You have 10 minutes to answer those questions.
Okay.
If there's any time remaining, you're free to ask us any questions that you happen to have. So with that, are you ready to begin?
Yeah, I think so.
Perfect. All right. So my first question for you, Natalie, is what motivates you to apply for an Inglewood board at this time?
Honestly, I'm on the PTO at Clayton Elementary. I'm on the board there. I'm the treasurer and probably running for the chair position next year. I guess my motivation was I was more involved with local elections this past election cycle and canvassing and taking my daughter canvassing and kind of showing how all of this works, and decided I wanted to get more involved and learn kind of how all of this process works. And the transportation board position is something that is of interest to me, having a child in Inglewood, walking and biking and things like that. So.
Thank you so much, Natalie.
Good evening, Natalie. I'm Joe Anderson. I'm the District 3 Council Representative. My question for you tonight is, what would you bring to the Transportation Advisory Committee that would bring a benefit to the city of Inglewood?
I mean, I think just, just being a citizen who's lived here, Colorado native, and we've lived in our house for, it'll be 10 years in April. And again, having a child that goes to Clayton, and being really excited about downtown Inglewood really kind of getting revitalized and more businesses coming in. It would be nice if there was more walkability and bikeability in those areas. I really think, I look at downtown Littleton, and I think they have done such a great job with really making that kind of a walkable, safe space. And when the Kmart got redeveloped, my husband and I really pushed and wrote letters to, is there a way we could connect the bike path to that space so that we don't have to drive there or feel unsafe trying to get there via Broadway and Bellevue. So, and I think that perspective is important. We have dear friends in Littleton who lost their son. So they're very good friends of ours. And that was a big push to really make my voice heard and maybe make some thoughtful changes for our city.
Thank you.
Good evening, Natalie. I'm Rita Russell. I'm one of the at-large council members. And my question for you is, can you describe an experience in the past during which you worked in a group of people with diverse and sometimes opposing views and perspectives?
Oh, gosh. Well, working on the PTO, there's definitely diverse opinions and people. My background is in the service industry. So I worked for Starbucks for 14 years. So you meet hundreds and hundreds of people. I also am a trained chef. I worked at several restaurants. I also was a personal chef. I worked for all different kinds of families. So you really have to find common ground, I think, when you work in industries like that, and kind of leave some stuff at the door. I think one thing I've learned about being on the PTO, because there's a lot of different voices on our PTO, and I think one thing I've learned is, doesn't matter what any of us really think, like our only mission should be to fund the school and what the school needs and what the kids need. My mission being on the board is I don't ever want us to have to say no to a teacher if they're asking us for money. Nothing else really matters.
Great, thank you.
Good evening, Natalie. I'm Tina Prang. I'm also an at-large council member and a fellow alumni of being on the PTSO. That's how I got started in involvement in Englewood, working through that on the bonds and
nice.
getting the new schools, served on the
wonderful.
school board, and here I am today. I feel your pain with some of the challenges and opportunities of working with different voices. My question for you is, what do you like most about Englewood?
Oh, gosh. Well, for me and my husband, especially when we lived in Denver proper for 15 years, ready to buy a home, realizing we're never going to be able to buy a house in Denver. And so we really looked for a place. We did not want to feel like we were living in the suburbs. We really wanted to feel like we lived still in a city that kind of had the city services and things that we like eating out, we like being able to walk places. And Englewood's really provided that for us. And, we have friends that, visit from out of state. We take them always to somewhere in downtown Englewood, and there's even more and more to show those people. So I really love living here, actually more than I ever thought I would. And we love our school, and I just like that it's like a city town feeling, and I think that's really unique.
Thank you.
Hi. Hello.
What, if anything, would you like to see improved about the boards that you applied for?
Well, I mean, this is probably a little bit on me, but also maybe communication with the regular citizens. I guess I didn't really know about the board positions until I was talking to some other parents and other parents who were involved in the long-range planning for the Englewood School District. And they had mentioned that there was a lot of board positions that were going to open up this year. And so I went to the website. I was like, oh, there's a whole bunch of stuff. So I get that some of that is on me as a citizen, not checking in, but I think maybe more communication. I think the city council's done a much better job of getting stuff out there on Instagram. I don't go on Facebook anymore. That is kind of my main, thing. So I think seeing more stuff out on social media would be really helpful, especially for citizens who are a good 10 to 20 years younger than I am at this point. They're not using traditional media. So.
Thank you.
Hi, good to see you.
Hi, good to see you too.
Thank you for being here. Regular attendance and engagement is really helpful and required at all of our board and commission meetings. Would you be able to attend the scheduled meetings?
Yes, so I think when I read the site, is it like every other month or
It typically meet monthly.
It is monthly. Okay, it was a little unclear when I looked, but yes.
Second Thursday of every month.
Yeah, that should be fine. I think one thing I didn't know is what is the time, the commitment if I get under, it's a year or a term, or what's the term?
What terms are open on eTech? It looks like we've got terms that are open through February of next year and one through 2027.
Okay.
People resign if they're available to change before the term is up, and then someone else will be appointed to finish the term.
Okay. Yeah, no, doing once a month is definitely doable for my schedule, so.
Okay, wonderful. And our last question is, how will your service on this board commission benefit you as an Englewood resident personally?
I think, honestly, I think I have good input. I like to be engaged, and part of why I'm doing this is to really learn more. I want to learn how the boards work. I have an interest in, we're not leaving Englewood, so I would like to do more, maybe more of this. I'm not sure, but for me.
Oh, this?
Maybe some of this, I don't know, maybe potentially, but I think, teaching my daughter, I took her voting with me this year, I took her canvassing, and I was like, I don't really know how this works, and I'm taking it as I think I have good input as a citizen, and I want to learn more.
Great, thank you.
Thanks.
Well, Natalie, we have just under 2 minutes left. Do you have any questions for us?
When will you decide as a board
So we have another day of interviews tomorrow, or another night of interviews tomorrow. We'll deliberate shortly tomorrow night, possible placement. We'll make the final decision on Tuesday since MLK Day is on
Okay,
Monday.
right, okay.
So Tuesday night, we'll make a final decision. Wednesday, you'll hear from the city clerk's office in terms of placement.
Okay, and then they will give that person or myself all of the information that I
Yes,
need
and
to
then
go
you'll
through.
start in February, and the
Okay.
first meeting will be in February, but yes.
Okay, all right. Yeah, no, I think, I don't have any more questions. I actually was thinking February though, we are going on a vacation in February.
Life happens, everybody, so
Yeah.
don't worry about it.
But other than that, no, thank you for your time and yeah, this is great.
Yeah, so yeah, and thank you, Natalie, for your willingness to serve and for what you've done up to this point as well. So, as I mentioned, yeah, we'll be in touch sometime next week, and it was good to meet you. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to any of us. So.
Okay, will do. All right, thank you.
All right, Natalie,
Thanks for your
thank you so
time.
much.
All right, bye-bye. I know I missed you this year at the store. I think
Yeah,
I
we
was
must have
in the
not had
afternoon.
overlapping shifts.
I was in the
morning.
afternoon, yeah.
Oh, glad
Take
you're
care.
there.
Thank you.
We should have Nick and out there.
This is Nick here.
Good evening, Nick. How you doing?
Good evening. I'm doing well. How are you guys?
Doing well. Thanks for coming tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. All right, Nick. Well, I'm Nathaniel Sear. I'm council member for District 1 as well as mayor for the city. Nick, we're going to be asking you 7 questions. You'll have 10 minutes to answer those questions if there's any time remaining. After those 7 questions, feel free to ask us any questions you may have. So, are you ready to begin?
I'm ready to begin.
All right, perfect. So, Nick, my first question for you is what motivates you to apply for an Inglewood board at this time?
Yeah, it just stems from, I think, a place of civic duty. I've lived in the city now for 6 years, and I feel like I'm an accountant, I'm a CPA, and I just feel like I'm fortunate to have some background and skills that I've developed over the years, and feel like there may be an ability to contribute to the betterment of the area that I live. And so that's all.
Sounds great. Thank you, Nick.
Good evening, Nick. I'm Joe Anderson, District 3 Council Representative. My question for you is, what would you bring to a board and commission, and how would Inglewood benefit from your service?
Yeah, I think that, well, just professionally, I'm an accountant, and I think that I can speak in, the language of dollars and cents, and I understand budgets and forecasts, and how important those things are. It's got, this is for the city, but there's business elements to it. And we want to be smart and strategic, and I feel like I could contribute in that area. I also think that I would bring, creativity and passion. I think that in my personal and professional life, I like to think outside of the box and try new things. And that attitude has served me well in my personal and professional life. And I think that it could serve well as a committee member.
Very good, thank you.
Good evening, Rick. I'm Rita Russell. I'm one of the at-large council members. And my question for you is, can you describe an experience in the past during which you worked in a group of people with diverse and sometimes opposing views and perspectives?
Yeah, okay, so happens a lot of times. A couple of examples that come to mind. I've held classroom-style trainings on how to even just perform audit procedures to accountants, right? And you could find differing opinions on approach, what may be the best way to approach a certain audit situation. And so in a classroom setting, what's great is that you can have an open dialogue around bringing people's opinions in and opposing opinions to those views, and allowing a discussion to happen and helping to facilitate a discussion that where these contrasting ideas kind of develop into a middle ground. Another example that comes to mind is, accounting can be technical. There can be different ways to approach things or different ways to estimate maybe a loss or something like that. And when you have a CFO who wants the numbers to be a certain way, but you also have a license to defend and you're called to do the right thing, follow the guidance that is published for accountants, it can be difficult to professionally but strongly defend your position and make sure that you're striving for truth and correctness rather than the best bottom line number.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, Nicholas. I'm Tina Prang. I'm also an at-large council member and fellow daytime accountant.
Right.
So I totally relate to your example of CFO wants one thing and, operationally you need something different.
Yeah.
So my question for you is, what do you like most about Inglewood?
Oh yeah, it's gonna be the community. I feel like that's gonna be answer number one, but it's also my answer. I am married and we have young kids and we have people on our street and in front of us and behind us that have young kids, and we go to the parks in the area and we go eat at the food trucks when they're on the parks, and we'll check out the concert here. And that is what I love about Inglewood the most. Just I think the ability to find people, connect with them, build relationships with them, and live in that environment is my favorite thing about Inglewood.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Steve Ward. I represent Council District 4, and my question for you is, what, if anything, would you like to see improved about the boards or commissions that you applied for?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't think that I have a strong enough inside view at this moment to say I have a strong opinion about what needs to be fixed, or things that I could change for improvement. But I believe that all organizations, even including the boards I've applied for or any other organization, always can have better controls, financial controls, and ensuring that things are done appropriately from an accounting perspective or a spending perspective. I also think that all organizations can become subject to this is how we've always done it kind of mindsets, and that's earlier I talked about I like to think creatively, and that's one area where I seem to strive, and I look for ways to think creatively or improve things. The worst answer is that's just how it's done around here, and I really feel that and believe that, and I think that would be a way to improve any organization, or including this board.
Great, thank you.
Hi, thanks for applying, for being here tonight. I'm Chelsea Nienenkamp, District 2 Council Member. A couple questions for you. Regular attendance at all board and commission meetings is required. Do you have any concerns about your ability to attend these scheduled meetings?
Yeah, I really don't. When I applied, I'll say that I could imagine maybe once or twice a year on a Wednesday night, I have a tough time making it. And that doesn't mean I wouldn't do everything I could to be here, but it's possible, you know what I mean? But I take it seriously. I wouldn't feel like willy-nilly about it. I don't know the exact definition of that word, but I say it often. No, I would take it seriously, and I'm applying because of a sense of wanting to be involved and doing some civic duty, and I wouldn't pass that up for small reasons at all.
And if you were to be appointed, how would service on a board or commission benefit you as Inglewood citizen, personally and professionally?
I would point to just personally, sense of fulfillment and contributing, and kind of that intrinsic value that's inside of there. Professionally, nothing comes to mind. Just the opposite, actually. Because of my professional, I'd like to contribute to the board, to the city. Yep.
So Nick, we have a couple of minutes left. Actually, I'll ask a question of you because I see here just urban renewal was the only one that you marked down. Were there any other boards that you were interested in?
Yeah,
urban renewal probably only meets once a year now.
I saw that like in January, right?
Yeah, we met this year. Yeah, we've had our one meeting this year.
Yeah.
Last week.
they approved the budget. I was like, that was my spot.
We approved the minutes from last year.
No.
This meeting, so.
They needed me in there. But yeah, no, I'm open to other ones, yeah. Yep.
Perfect. Were there any evenings that didn't work for you?
You know, Wednesday's my hardest one, which
So
is when
Wednesday is
URA
hard.
meets, yep,
All right, cool. All right, well, now what questions do you have for us?
Yeah, whether for URA or any board, when have you seen, do you have an example of when you've seen a volunteer sign up for a committee and do something positive, tangible and positive? Does something come to mind? Is there an example that you guys
Anybody wanna
want
jump in?
I mean, you asked about something tangible, and I think a lot of the contribution of our boards and commission members is not necessarily directly tangible. It's about an opportunity for them to interact with each other, with staff, and a field that they're interested in, and with the member of council, whoever the liaison happens to be for that board. And I think that in and of itself has quite a bit of value for the process. Member Ninenkamp and I came from the Budget Advisory Committee, for example, and that committee sees every department in the city on an annual basis and talks to them about what they're doing in their departments and what their budget is and what their needs are. And I appreciated that because over the 8 years that I served on that committee, I learned a lot about the inner workings of the city that prepared me to do this job. So I think that probably doesn't directly answer the question that you actually asked, but that's a big part of the value I see is contributing in a way that builds knowledge of the citizens and allows them to step up for higher service when the time comes.
Well, I was gonna say, like, one of the things that I've gathered from these board and commission, even these interviews tonight, there are some very knowledgeable people within our community that, you know, they may bring a level of expertise to some of our boards and commissions. I've seen it in sustainability, I've seen it in e-tech and transportation. They provide a different perspective that I never really considered, so it's very valuable, at least from my perspective, getting that type of take and where it is that we need to, you know, take the conversation, I guess, in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just always interested in that level of feedback, or the quality feedback that we get from some of our boards and commissions.
Yeah, I mean, we're inside this every day, so
Yeah.
we're not always seeing things from a citizen's perspective.
Oh, for sure. Yep, makes total sense.
All right, so Nick, we are at time. So we have you are our final interview for tonight.
Mm-hmm.
We have another night of interviews tomorrow night. We'll briefly deliberate in terms of where possible placements would happen or would occur. We'll make final decision next Tuesday night, after which we'll hear from the city clerk's office in terms of your placement at that point. So, and placements will occur starting in February, I guess I should say.
Awesome.
So that's kind of the schedule. Anything else, Nick? Any other questions?
No, just want to say thank you to everyone and thank you, Mayor, for asking about if I was open to other boards. I truthfully am, so if you see a place where I could contribute, I'd love to do that.
Well, I would like your first board meeting to be sometime in 2025, 2026.
As long as we're good with budget.
Well, Nick, thank you very much. It's great to meet you and have a great evening, man.
Thank you, you too.
Thank you. All right, everyone, so we're at 8:30, right on time. So we'll conclude for tonight and then we'll meet back up at 5 p.m. tomorrow. All right, have a good evening, everyone.